What do you do if you realize that things aren't right? You've fallen in with the wrong crowd, trusted people you shouldn't have, gotten hurt and used by them, and hurt them or others back in turn. Do you give up? Allow yourself to give in to despair? Close your heart up tight so it can't be hurt anymore? It's tempting, I know. I've been there. But even in the darkest times when we think our lives are over, that they'll never get back on track, it's possible to claw our way back up. Sometimes we need a little help, but we can right our wrongs, heal from the past, and shine a light on the shadows to reveal a path that will guide us to a brighter future. My name is Brandon, and this is the story of how I, alongside my partners, found redemption, healing, and a certain sparkling treasure while chasing that rainbow. The skies grow dark, and I must be the light that pierces the veil. The rainbow is calling. Let's fly. My story opens in the desolate Orre region. Mostly composed of arid desert and crumbling canyons, it's a harsh land with harsher people that most seem to just end up in. Is this the dry wasteland that awaits those who have lost their futures? Few wild Pokemon make this land their home. Because of this, there's an organization that specializes in collecting Pokemon for those willing to pay. Those rogues call themselves Team Snag'em, and their method of collection is unorthodox. With the aid of a special device, they can steal Pokemon from other trainers. In this way, even if there are no wild Pokemon, there's still Pokemon up for grabs. Team Snag'em's hideout lay hidden, tucked into one of Orre's canyons. It's here that I make my move. With an explosion, the wall of the hideout is engulfed in fire. The complex shakes as a way is blown open. I stride through the dust and smoke, reaching out to grab a Gauntlet. It was easier than I expected, but those Snag'em goons are surely scrambling, so I don't have much time. I see my Umbreon looking antsy, and together we rush out, prize in hand. I hear them behind us, but we've almost made it. My ride is just a moment away. I'm not the most fit, but with adrenaline pumping, I hop on, and Umbreon leaps into the sidecar, joining my other partner, an Espeon. We speed off. Before they can continue their pursuit, it's time for the second surprise I left them. I hit a switch, and another explosion booms in the distance. Rushing across the desert, eventually on the horizon, I see a busted train engine stranded amidst the sand. This is the Outskirts Stand, a tiny rest stop in the desert. We slow to a stop, and I call my partners back into their Pokeballs. I can't leave my prize here and risk someone taking it, so I slip the mechanical glove on, over my coat. We'll refuel here and then continue on our way. Eating would be nice, but there's no time for that. As I walk towards the entrance, I see two guys talking loudly before they speed off. I step inside the rusted out train and see the news playing. Snag'em's hideout was destroyed. News travels fast. I pay for what I need and then leave, but on the way out, a trainer stops me. He says his name is Willie and he challenges me to a battle. I agree to indulge him, curious if he has what I'm searching for. Willie sends out two Zigzagoon. Here in Orre, double battles are the law of the land, so to face Willie's Pokemon, I send out my partners. I note that his Pokemon seem to be acting normally, so they aren't worth paying much attention to, and my partners make quick work of them with a few attacks. As I turn to leave, Willie suggests that I test my skills at Phoenix City to the west. With more trainers there, I might find what I'm looking for, so I set off once more. Phoenix City is far, so it's a while before we arrive. I've barely stepped into the relative paradise before me when I see those two guys from Outskirt. They're lifting a bag that almost seems to be moving? They're struggling with it, when suddenly a voice calls out, muffled but still distinct, "Kidnappers!" And here I thought Pokemon were the only things being trafficked in Orre. Noticing me nearby, one of them turns to fight. I send out my partners and he responds with two Whismur. Just like Willie's Zigzagoon, they don't offer much resistance. I would have expected kidnappers to be a bit more intimidating. Suddenly they seem to recognize me, but a gathering crowd sends them scrambling. They run off, leaving us with the squirming bag. Inside is someone with bright orange hair who introduces themselves as Chat, which is far from the strangest name we're going to see on this journey. Chat explains that they were in a neighboring town when they were grabbed by those guys. They then ask if those goons used a peculiar Pokemon. I didn't notice anything, and the onlookers confirmed that the Pokemon seemed ordinary, so I seemingly didn't miss much. Someone suggests Chat go explain the situation to the mayor of the city, and Chat requests I escort them. Knowing that it's possible those guys might look for a chance to grab them again, I agree to help out. Besides, Chat's comment about peculiar Pokemon has me intrigued. Maybe they know something. A quick stroll takes us to the mayor's abode. As we arrive, the doors open before us. but rather than a welcoming party, instead a tall, rather intimidating man just exits. He sizes me up and says he likes my expression. While I'm flattered, he's not really my type. He leaves, and we enter the house, where we meet the mayor of Fennec City, Escade. There, chat described how they saw a Pokemon that gave off a black aura, and was akin to a fighting machine that would attack people. This caught my attention. It sounded similar to what I'm looking for, though I wasn't sure what they meant by the black aura. He's skeptical, but acknowledges that this could be dangerous, before chat continues to explain that it was because they saw this that they were taken prisoner. Hearing that, the mayor agrees to launch an investigation, before suggesting that we take in the rest of the city's sites, including the local Pokemon Stadium. It's not a bad idea, looking for trainers was my original purpose here after all, so with that said, chat and I continue to the city stadium. However, we're told they aren't accepting new registrations at the moment. No worries, we can check later. Before chat and I can discuss where to go next, it seems my past has caught up to me already. Team Snag'em was waiting for us. The very first thing they do is call me a traitor, yell about their destroyed base, and the fact I took their snag machine. Chat is shocked, not just to see Team Snag'em, but also at their accusation of my betrayal. The grunt explains that not only was I in Team Snag'em, but that my role was as a snagger, the person who actually took the Pokemon, and that I was the best. Chat asks if it's true, to which I can do nothing but confirm the fact. Why was I with this gang? Does it matter? What can I say that won't sound like an excuse? Was it to survive in this harsh land? Because I trusted someone I shouldn't have? Did I join with the intention of betraying them all along? I'll leave you to speculate. It won't change things either way. The end result is that I helped to separate Pokemon from their trainers, and I need to atone for that. I didn't feel good about it, but I hardened my heart, ignored my conscience, and did the job they gave me, so the blame falls to me in the end. But everyone has a breaking point, and when I discovered what the Pokemon were being used for... No, I'm getting ahead of myself. So in the end, I took the snag machine, destroying their base in the process. I guess you could call it my resignation. They certainly got the message. What I now had on my arm was that snag machine. The grunt goes on to explain that the machine can convert a trainer's ordinary Pokeballs into snag balls, capable of stealing another trainer's Pokemon, overwriting the Pokeball data and making them yours. It was given to them by another party, but they were only entrusted with the one, which I now have. Obviously they want it back, and so one of them sends out his Pokemon to try and take it. He's not much of a threat though, and my Pokemon easily beat his. Seeing how outmatched they are, the other goons don't even bother continuing, and they retreat, but not before vowing to get their machine back. Chat then does something unexpected. They admit that they were surprised to hear that I'm with Team Snag'em, before correcting themselves that I was formerly with their gang. It was a subtle thing, but their acceptance of my past, and the fact that they didn't pass judgment or probe further was comforting. They accepted that the person I was then isn't the person they knew now. Their trust in me was something I was thankful for. Initially I joined them partly to help protect them, but mostly to look for info on these mysterious Pokemon. But now, I felt a bit more comfortable around them, and a bit more willing to aid them. They then suggested we go shopping for Pokeballs. They didn't elaborate, but I suspect that knowing that I had the snag machine gave them some ideas. I trusted that they weren't planning to get me to use it to start snagging random Pokemon again though, so I agreed to go with them. A quick perusal of the local shops turned up nothing, however. Since Orre doesn't have many wild Pokemon, Pokeballs aren't commonly sold out here, and without them, the machine I went to so much trouble to get isn't worth much. While inquiring about how to find some though, chat learned that the man who runs Outskirt Stand used to sell them. Following that lead, with chat now riding in my sidecar, we cross the desert once more, back the way we came. Once we arrive, chat asks the man about the Pokeballs, and luckily he has some. Since no one really buys them, he generously gives us a few for free, but mentions he has more if needed. We refuel before returning to Fennec. It's quiet, neither of us talk much, just the sand, wind, and rumble of the engine. So, real quick, my handy snag machine actually has a special ability to duplicate Pokeballs. This is actually really helpful because money is kinda hard to come by in this region. I mean, I could grind, but this journey is already really grind heavy, as we'll soon see. I think having extra Pokeballs for free isn't too game breaking, and it's not like we want to resort to stealing Pokeballs to rescue all these poor Pokemon, right? So, for that reason, I'm using this special feature, okay? As we enter the city, a woman tells us that the two creeps who had kidnapped Chat had returned, and they had backup. We rush to the mayor's house and find not just them, but an incredibly tall man in a gaudy gold suit, all under a massive bouncing afro in the style of a Pokeball. He explains that Chat can see things ordinary people can't, before commanding his men, Trudley and Folly, to bring Chat to Pyrite Town, and leaving. Folly, the same guy I fought last time, angrily shouts that I caught him off guard before, but that it won't happen this time. Like before, his new team of Whismur and Lotad go down to just a few attacks. Next, Trudley steps in, leading with a Spinarak and Duskull. I tell Espeon to use Confusion on the Spinarak and Umbreon to bite Duskull. Espeon's Confusion easily takes out its target, but before Umbreon can attack, my foe sends out his Makuhita. Chat instantly interrupts the battle. "Brandon, it's that one! That Pokemon! Those jerks captured me because I saw that Pokemon! I can see a black aura coming from it. They must have done something to that Pokemon." I can't see anything different about it, but the man said Chat can see things other people can't. Before I can react, the Makuhita rushes and nails me with a punch, sending me reeling back, wincing with pain. "Brandon, be careful! This Pokemon isn't afraid to attack people!" Although that hurt, it more or less confirms it. This is what I've been looking for. This is one of the Pokemon I needed to track down. Seemingly on the same page, Chat continues. "I know, Brandon. I hate to say this, but there's no other choice. Get that Pokemon back from the bad guys. Please, you have to. You can. Actually, only you can do it." As they said that, Umbreon connects with a bite on Duskull. Next, Umbreon finishes off its target while Espeon uses Return, barreling into the Makuhita. Chat then throws me one of the Pokeballs we got. I activate the Snag Machine. It whirs as it fills the Pokeball with energy. I toss it at the Makuhita. The ball rocks back and forth a few times before it clicks. The Makuhita was successfully snagged, the first step on my long road of redemption. Trudley and Folly panic and rush out of the house, while Chat excitedly jumps, exclaiming that I did it! I successfully snagged the Pokemon from that goon, before quickly realizing the awful truth I know all too well. "I'm sure there are others like it. Let's get all of them back from those bad guys." Remarkably, I can't believe the stroke of good luck. Chat and I have aligning goals, and not only that, our abilities complement each other well. I can't easily identify these Pokemon, having to carefully observe their behavior, and even then it would be a gamble, but Chat can tell at a glance. However, Chat isn't a trainer, while I have experience with battles and experience using the Snag Machine. This is truly fortuitous, as if a rainbow has appeared after a long storm, ready to guide me on my new path. I agree with Chat's idea and thank them for their assistance. We leave the mayor's house after checking to confirm he wasn't even there. Although the mayor's secretary does call me cute. Guilty as charged, but that's besides the point. They also imply that Chat and I are in a relationship, and well, that's just not true. Anyway, we leave and see that some of that Afro guy's men are still in town. A quick survey reveals 3 of them, one at each entrance to town, and each wearing different colors, red, blue, and green. They seem to be trying to lock down the city. I decide our best bet at the moment is to break through and pursue that Afro guy, since he mentioned he'd be a Pyrite. Chat agrees and says we should fight the red guy. Without thinking, I toss out the first 2 Pokeballs I grab. After all, it's been a while since I traveled with more than just Espeon and Umbreon, so I'm surprised to see that my first 2 Pokemon are instead Espeon and the odd Makuhita I just snagged. Despite its earlier strange behavior, it does seem to be awaiting my orders. My red-clad foe sends out a Grimer and Quilava, and Chat once again informs me that the Quilava has a strange aura. While Espeon attacks Grimer, Makuhita seems unsure what to do. Our foe instructs the Quilava to use a move I've never heard of, Shadow Rush. Perhaps Makuhita also knows it. Makuhita, use Shadow Rush? Suddenly Makuhita rushes at his target, finishing off the weakened foe. It seemed to wince slightly as if it hurt itself when attacking. Now that I know how to fight with Makuhita, I turn my attention to the Quilava. Not wanting to risk knocking it out, I opt for a weaker move. I have Espeon use Return, while I motion for Chat to give me a ball. They toss it to me and I charge it up, throwing it at the Quilava. It shakes for a moment, before breaking free. We weaken it a bit more and then throw another. After a few shakes, this one succeeds. With that, the second of these Pokemon is caught. Unlike the Makuhita, I do remember once snagging a Quilava. Perhaps it's this one. Before I can ponder this further, Chat begins interrogating the man. "What was that strange Pokemon? What did you people do to it?" "That? It's a Pokemon that we turned into a fighting machine by artificially closing the door to its heart." My own heart sinks. That confirms it. Both of these Pokemon are indeed the Pokemon I've been looking for, the reason that finally pushed me to leave Snag'em. Chat's horrified voice snaps me out of my thoughts. No, you didn't! You artificially closed the door to that poor Pokemon's heart? The man taunts us that just knowing that won't help us as he leaves. He's right, or so I think. Chat remembers a story they were told when they were younger, that a Pokemon who closes their heart can open it again by battling. Chat suggests we continue to Pyrite Town, but since that red guy had one of those Pokemon, I figure it's possible his companions also have one, but we find that they've already left. It's unfortunate, but we have to push on. At least we rescued the Quilava. As we depart for Pyrite, I tell Chat a little more of my past, but keep things fairly vague. I explain briefly how I left Snag'em when I learned what was happening to these Pokemon, and decided to take the Snag Machine to rescue them. Sensing my guilt, Chat offers that at least because of that, we have the Snag Machine, and we can now try and fix things. Further, they point out that if it weren't me taking them, someone else would have done it. Potentially someone who wouldn't have cared to try and undo this. So from that perspective, it's good that it was me. It's cold comfort knowing that I've messed up so bad, but they have a point. Pyrite is quite a long ways off, in the opposite direction from Outskirt. On our way we notice a massive tower in the desert. Chat requests we check it out, so we stop by and see that it's still under construction. Tons of equipment and materials lying about. One of the workers mentions they're building a Colosseum at the top of the tower before shooing us away. With Chat's curiosity satisfied, we continue to our destination. After a long ride, we pull up to the rough and dingy town of Pyrite. It's a town well known for having some less than savory characters. It's no wonder Chat got kidnapped here. As we enter, we overhear an officer talking to someone he calls Kale. We decide to scour the area for any leads, but at first no one has much to say. Eventually, we make our way to the police station and have a literal run-in with the officer from earlier, who mentions reports of people using strange Pokemon, but neither he nor the chief, Shirls, are able to give us anything more than that. Unsurprising, given that all cops are bastards. Exploring the town, we hear about a local man named Duking, who normally helps keep things under control in the area, but apparently he's been uncharacteristically lax lately. We decide to check if he knows what's going on. He has little to say though. A kid nearby nervously denies there being anything special behind the bookcase. Suspicious. I check said bookcase and notice a switch, which reveals it to be a door. Expecting this to be some kind of cover for those goons from earlier, we rush inside to see more children in a strange cave connected to the house. They're surprised to see us there, but only mention needing to snag something from criminals. Sounds familiar. As we leave the cave, we hear a voice. A young guy is yelling at Duking, asking why he isn't standing up to someone he calls Mirror B. Duking quietly averts his gaze as the guy runs out. The child who was guarding the bookcase explains that the guy was Duking's friend, Silva. He seems to know something, so we leave to try and ask him. Before we can catch up to him though, we encounter a trainer who challenges me to a fight. Deciding this is a good time to look into the reports of weird Pokemon, I accept. I lead with Espeon as well as Quilava, remembering what Chat said about opening hearts through battling. The Quilava seems a bit calmer after having spent some time walking with us too, so now is a good time to test it. After all, if we're going to rescue all these Pokemon, it wouldn't hurt to have some other allies besides my Umbreon and Espeon. It turns out this trainer doesn't have one of those Black Aura Pokemon though, and we win the fight without much effort. However, something strange happens. Quilava begins acting oddly, more vicious almost. It completely ignored my command, letting the enemy get off a free hit. Continuing on, another trainer flirts with me. While the attention feels nice, Chat angrily demands I beat her. She couldn't keep up with me anyway. Continuing to scour the town, we reach an area filled with trainers battling, called the Duel Square. Chat stops me and says that this was where they were when they saw the Makuhita and were captured, urging me to be careful. Still, we decide it would be best to face these trainers in search of info and strange Pokemon. The first guy has one, a Misdreavus, which Chat identifies and I snag. No problems. After the fight, he mentions that Pokemon's emotions can go out of control and enter something called Hyper Mode, and if they do, you can snap them out of it by calling them. The next trainer has a Noctowl that Chat identifies as having the same aura. I decide to deal with his other Pokemon first though. I call Quilava and he comes to his senses, confirming that he had entered Hyper Mode. It seemed to make him do more damage, however, he would also ignore orders, making it a risky thing to rely on. Espeon and Quilava work together to deal with the trainers Ledyba and Wingull, and I finally snag his Noctowl. Fighting a few other trainers here, we snag a Flaffy, Skiploom, and Quagsire. None of the trainers seem to notice, but they do mention that Pokemon in Hyper Mode are more likely to land critical hits, and that Shadow Rush ignores types. This is pretty valuable info, and with the large number of strange Pokemon we collected here already, and these oddly knowledgeable trainers, Chat and I agree we're on the right track. Still, it's getting late and my Pokemon are tired, so we head to the hotel and rest. The next day, Chat remembers that when we arrived, the police were talking to someone named Kale. The police wouldn't give us any leads directly, but looking into who they were checking out may reveal something. We search for Kale near the edge of town. When pressed about the strange Pokemon, Kale smugly says we should see for ourselves, and sends out a Furret with the black aura. With my newly acquired Skiploom, I put the Furret to sleep while Umbreon holds off the other Pokemon. I snag the Furret, and Skiploom enters Hyper Mode, using its increased power to end the battle. After our talk with Kale, we piece together that the Black Aura Pokemon are called Shadow Pokemon, and that this Mirror Bee guy is giving them out to winners of the local Colosseum. We head there to follow this lead, however on the way, a man stumbles out of a building and collapses. Chat rushes over to help, but all he does is mutter something about Silva. We head inside and see another guy on the ground. He says that Silva came in and stole one of the gears while ranting about the Colosseum. Apparently, without the gears, the wind turbine powering the Colosseum will shut down. The police arrive and we're tasked with helping track down the gear. Chat reasons that hiding the gear near town would be pointless, since it would be easy to find. Further, they think it would be best hidden somewhere with a lot of scrap that it could blend in with, concluding that somewhere like the construction site we saw on the way here would be the best place to hide it. It makes sense, but it's a bit of a wild guess. With no other leads, I trust Chat's judgment. We ride all the way back to that tower construction lot. While not expecting much, we split up to scour the area. After a bit, Chat calls me over. Somehow, their hunch was absolutely correct. A large gear was tossed into the rubble. I have no clue how I'd ever have thought to look here myself, but together, we heft the heavy gear onto my ride and make the long journey back to Pyrite. This feels like an utter waste of everyone's time, but there's nothing we can do about that now. Together, we carry the heavy gear back. As we enter, we overhear people talking. Duking mentions that he doesn't blame Silva, since he was probably just doing what he thought was right. Admittedly, after this whole debacle, I wanted to be angry at the guy, but hearing that gives me pause. I think about my own recent actions, blowing up Snag'em's base, taking the Snag Machine, and even using it to catch the Shadow Pokemon. Technically, none of this was legal, but I did what I thought was right. I suddenly realized that I can't blame or judge Silva for this. Duking is right, and what's done is done. Snapping out of my thoughts, Chat and I return the gear back into its slot, while Duking apologizes for the cold reception he gave us earlier. As the turbine spins back to life, he calls me a man of honor and courage, which honestly gives me some cognitive dissonance after reflecting on my actions just a few moments ago. He requests that I win in the Colosseum to investigate its connection with Shadow Pokemon. He and Chat both think I'm strong enough, and seeing their belief in me, I agree to help. We head to the Colosseum and register. And they were right. The battles aren't terribly difficult. Still, I use the opportunity to work alongside the Shadow Pokemon, getting to gauge their strengths and weaknesses and attempting to open their hearts. It's slow, but we're making progress. After 4 rounds, we've won. Leaving the Colosseum, we're stopped by another of those guys in the suit and helmet. He explains that in honor of my win, the guy who controls this town, Mirror Bee, wants to give me a gift, and leads us into a large building nearby. In there, he talks briefly to a woman wearing a similar outfit, saying they'll give me a Shadow Pokemon and watch things unfold. She responds that the new champ is a charmer. She looks at me closer, no doubt dazzled by my cuteness. The man turns to hand me a Pokeball when the woman interrupts, realizing Mirror Bee warned them about me. In shock, he attempts to boot us out, throwing the ball that was supposed to be my prize, releasing a Shadow Yanma alongside his own Pokemon. Yanma's uproar prevents sleep, making it slightly harder to catch, but it's still simple to nab and finish the fight. Realizing how outclassed they are against a tournament champion, they flee. As they scamper away, Duking appears behind us along with those kids from earlier, explaining that when he heard we were entering the building, he got worried. Chat explains that this is where they distribute Shadow Pokemon to Colosseum winners. Although we aren't sure why, we all agree that whatever the reason, it can't be good. A girl named Marcia explains that Mirror Bee took Duking's Plusle captive, and that's how he's been able to take over the town without Duking being able to resist. Chat assures him that we'll save Plusle. Knowing we have a large climb ahead, we quickly leave to restock our supplies at the store, and on the way, I see a trainer in the duel square that I hadn't fought yet. He challenged me to a battle with another Shadow Pokemon, this time a Slugma. As usual, I capture it, and with our preparations complete, we return to the building. Up to this point, I haven't had much reason to which Pokemon I brought along with us. All of them are Shadow Pokemon, so we'll need to save all of them eventually. It's been flexible aside from keeping my partners. but chat insisted I bring the Slugma along. At first I thought they were setting me up for some kind of prank. I don't know, maybe a joke about the way its name sounds, some wordplay or something? Slugma... Or maybe because Slugma and its evolution Magcargo are notoriously difficult Pokemon to use, especially in a double battle given its weakness to... everything. But looking back, maybe chat just felt a spiritual connection to them. I mean, chat's hair kinda looks like a Slugma. Huh. We returned to the building. Fortunately, we weren't gone long enough for those guys to come back. Behind the front counter is a healing machine and a PC to swap my teammates, and with that I can rotate the Pokemon I'm using to try and work on opening their hearts, although none of them have fully opened up yet. Additionally, there's a file on the counter written by Shadow Pokémon Lab Chief Ein, who seems to be the lead researcher on these Shadow Pokemon. It explains more about Hyper Mode, though most of it we already knew. But it does include an interesting note that calling to Pokemon in Hyper Mode helps loosen the door to their hearts further, which he considers troubling but will be very helpful for us. This building is filled with many trainers. None of them have Shadow Pokemon, falling without much effort, but the battles drag on, my Pokemon frequently entering Hyper Mode and needing me to call them. It helps loosen their hearts, but also makes this gauntlet take longer, leading to them getting worn down by attacks, in turn requiring that we return to the bottom to heal. I climbed up and down these stupid steps so many times. In the end though, we slowly progressed to the top. Eventually, we reach the roof. Ahead of us is a cliffside with a cave, though someone blocks the way. He tells us to go into the top room of the building and help with an intruder they just captured. He seems to think we're with his group, so for the time being, we oblige. Inside we see Silva, who's been captured by two women. The first challenges us with a Remoraid and Spinarak. Chad identifies the Remoraid as a Shadow Pokemon. I finish her other Pokemon and then catch the Shadow without any issue. The second woman then steps in to continue the fight, warning me of the consequences of messing with their group. This battle proves to be much more difficult. She sends out a Shadow Mantine. With Mantine's massive special bulk and most of my current Pokemon being special attackers, we struggle to do any meaningful damage. Further, due to the many battles on the way here, as well as the previous battle, half my Pokemon are in Hyper Mode already, making them very uncooperative. Even attempting to have Flaffy use Thunder Wave to assist the catch doesn't work because Flaffy ignored my orders and returned to the ball! I've literally never seen that happen. Fortunately, Umbreon's secret power happens to paralyze it instead. Despite the mishaps, after several more turns of chipping its HP and throwing Great Balls, we did manage to capture it, and from there, cleaning up her remaining Pokemon went fairly quickly. Having lost, the two trainers make a mad dash while we check up on Silva. We explain we're here to rescue Plusle, but our conversation gets cut short as the man with the afro appears on a nearby screen. Silva identifies him as the Mirror Bee who we've heard so much about, and calls him a coward for taking Plusle. Mirror Bee says that it's just a tactic and taunts us to come face him in the nearby cave. Silva wants to join us, but he's too injured and stays behind at Chat's insistence. We take an elevator down to the bottom of the building and heal, but unfortunately a one-way door blocks us from using the elevator again, which means climbing all the way back up. One annoying climb later, we're back on the roof, and I challenge the guy guarding the cave who roughed up Silva earlier. Realizing that we aren't new recruits, he laughs and says he hopes I'll give him more of a challenge than Silva did. We defeat his team in a few hits, finishing things by catching his Shadow Quillfish. Surprisingly, unlike most of our foes so far, he simply says that our battle was fun and steps aside. He was surprisingly chill. Maybe he too will have a change of heart and break ties with these villains one day. Regardless, with Silva avenged, we delve into the Pyrite Cave. Going through the cave, we encounter a variety of trainers. None too difficult, although they have a lot of rock and water types in here that made Chat's request for me to bring a certain slug questionable. The sprawling cave is a lengthy gauntlet that requires frequent healing. It's quite a long trip back to the machine every time. As we begin to navigate the cave, we find and snag a Shadow Meditite. The network of tunnels looks fairly difficult to navigate, but the branching paths don't actually diverge too far. At one point I find some Ultra Balls, which are a nice upgrade to my current Great Balls. With that said, getting through here was like babysitting a team of toddlers. Constantly entering Hyper Mode and throwing temper tantrums, Furret once hit itself, Noctowl and Mantine both entered Hyper Mode at the same time, another time Flaffy just straight up punched a guy. Typical babysitter shenanigans. Eventually, through the winding tunnels we reach a staircase. Going down the stairs brings us to a massive waterway. Perhaps this is the city's water reserve. We push on and are shortly stopped by a trainer with a Shadow Dunsparce, which I reclaim. Beyond her, we find a healing machine and PC. I guess it was a long and inconvenient trek back even for these guys, so they just dragged these machines here. Well, no harm in making use of them ourselves. With only one way we can go from here, we climb another staircase to find ourselves in the caves once more. I dispatch one trainer and then spy another guarding the next staircase. He had a Shadow Swablu. A Hypnosis from Noctowl and a Flame Wheel from Quilava brings it into prime snagging range, and I quickly nab it. We descend to the water area once more, and from there we find a large cave mouth that takes us to a door. From behind it we hear... music? We step forward and the large doors slide apart to reveal Mirror B on a pedestal surrounded by Ludicolo, and they're all dancing? Once he realizes we're here, he stops the music while lamenting that things were going perfectly before we arrived to mess things up, but then muses that he can salvage things by beating me. There's time for one last frantic dance before the grand finale. Let the music play! Mirror B leads with 2 Ludicolo while I send out Mantine and Swablu. I tell Mantine to confuse one of the Ludicolo with Supersonic, but since it's in Hyper Mode, it ignores me. While it's wasting time, both of the Ludicolo use Rain Dance, although since one of them sets up the rain, the other wastes its time doing nothing but just dancing. Fitting, I suppose. Now faster than Mantine due to Swift Swim, one of the Ludicolos uses Razor Leaf for light damage, missing the airborne Swablu. Once more, Mantine ignores my call to use Supersonic and just sits there. The other Ludicolo sets up a Leech Seed on Mantine. Swablu flies into Ludicolo, dealing a good chunk of damage. Mantine takes Chip from Leech Seed, and then both my Pokemon get hit by Razor Leaf, and I decide that rather than wasting time trying to confuse, I should leverage Mantine's increased power in Hyper Mode. I have it Shadow Rush the injured Ludicolo, finishing it off. Mirror B replaces it with a third Ludicolo. We both have the same thought as I tell Swablu to use Fly, while Mirror B has his second Ludicolo use Dive. Mantine uses Shadow Rush, but getting confused between which Ludicolo is above the water and which is below, his attack misses. The diving Ludicolo then resurfaces, but hits Mantine, who restores HP instead of taking damage with Water Absorb. Swablu hits with Fly, while the second Ludicolo misses with Fury Swipes. Mantine's health is sapped by Seeds again, while the injured Ludicolo restores health with Rain Dish. Once more, I have Mantine use Shadow Rush on the injured Ludicolo, but this time, it's not enough to finish it. Swablu flies high again, but first gets hit by Ludicolo's Leech Seed, meaning both my Pokemon are now bleeding HP. The other Ludicolo hits Mantine with a weak Mega Drain. Luckily, the rain comes to a stop. I'll have a free turn while he sets it up again. Mantine Shadow Rushes again, finishing off the injured Ludicolo. Predictably, it's replaced by his fourth backup dancer. Likewise, as expected, the second Ludicolo performs another Rain Dance, while Swablu nails it with another Fly, inflicting a fair chunk of damage. The Leech Seed chip combined with Shadow Rush recoil brings Mantine down to a sliver. Although I'm tempted to take the KO here with Mantine, it would need a sacrifice. Mantine has been fighting hard here. Since it trusts me, I decide to call it back, bringing in Dunsparce. Swablu uses Fly again, although this leaves the injured Ludicolo a chance to use Absorb on my incoming Dunsparce. It does a good chunk of damage, restoring enough that I'm not sure if Swablu's Fly will finish it. The other Ludicolo dives again. Guessing that Dunsparce will be slower, I have it use Glare targeting the Ludicolo underwater, while Swablu lands his Fly on the injured Ludicolo. As I thought, it just barely wasn't enough, and Glare misses, removing a lot of potential momentum for us. Realizing how injured Swablu is now, I decide to pull him out. Espeon unfortunately swaps in on a super effective Astonish. While I once more attempt to Glare on the healthy Ludicolo. Luckily it paralyzes this time. Now with Espeon on field, I think I can outspeed and finish off the damaged Ludicolo with a Confusion. However, with Swift Swim, it's still faster, but instead of using Astonish on Espeon, it targets the immune Dunsparce. No clue what he was planning. Regardless, Espeon cleans it up. Mirror B then sends out a Sudowoodo, similarly dancing to the beat. I think. Chat alerts me that it's a Shadow Pokemon. Dunsparce enters Hyper Mode and Ludicolo is paralyzed. I decide to have Espeon work on taking out the last Ludicolo, while Dunsparce sets up for the snag with Glare. Unfortunately, Espeon can't do much to the bulky Ludi. Dunsparce ignores my orders, getting nailed by a Rock Slide from Sudowoodo. Ludicolo also sets up Rain, keeping Rain Dish active. I try the same thing with Espeon whittling away at Ludicolo and Dunsparce once again ignoring me, but this time barreling straight into Mirror B. I stifle a laugh at that, but I'm not laughing as Sudowoodo knocks out Dunsparce with a low kick. Umbreon's out next. Ludicolo uses Leech Seed on Espeon, making it even more of a struggle to finish it off as it constantly heals. From here, I decide to just focus on getting rid of the Ludicolo, having my Eon duo double down on it. It's not enough to finish it, but we're outpacing the healing at least, and it gets paralyzed. Meanwhile, Sudowoodo hits us with Shadow Rush. It's not a huge deal right now, but that does mean it's chipping itself down, something to be wary of. Another round of hits finishes Ludicolo, leaving Sudowoodo as Mirror B's last Pokemon. It uses Rock Slide, finishing off Espeon, but that gives me a free switch to Slugma. While a terrible matchup, getting a free swap in is big. I ready an Ultra Ball with the Snag Machine. Unsurprisingly, it doesn't work, but worse, despite being at full health, Slugma gets one-shot by Rock Slide before it can get a chance to use Yawn, disrupting my catch setup. But then I remember Swablu. He's injured, but also fast. Sing has shaky accuracy, but I decide to risk it. I send him out and have him sing. It connects and puts the Sudowoodo to sleep. We use a few attacks to whittle it down, but each moment we risk it waking up and taking out Swablu, so finally I decide to chuck another ball. With that, Mirror B is defeated. It was a long and grueling battle after an equally long trek, but with that, Pyrite is saved from his influences. He says that one day he'll take great pleasure in kicking me about with his dance steps, and that the Shadow Pokemon plan isn't finished, before running away in a stylish manner. I feel like I've seen that run before somewhere. Chat can hear cries from behind us. Assuming it's the kidnapped Plusle, we investigate. In the next room, we see the little guy standing under spotlights. Was Mirror B trying to teach him a dance routine? While Chat goes to check up on him, I pick up another file, Ein File P. It details how Shadow Pokemon can be restored via a process referred to as purification. It goes on to state that there are several ways to purify a Pokemon, but that they have yet to discover them, and they hope to eliminate these methods. While this is vague, it does give us hope that the process can indeed be undone. With that, I turn my attention to the Plusle, and as I do, we hear Duking and Silva burst in. Duking is relieved to see his partner unharmed, and while Silva is disappointed Mirror B got away, Chat and Duking assure him that it'll be fine since the city is safe and we're all unharmed. Together, we all leave the cavern and return to Duking's office. There, Duking thanks us for our efforts in saving Plusle from the horrifying fate of becoming a Shadow Pokemon, or worse, one of Mirror B's backup dancers. Hey wait, that second option doesn't sound that bad. But then, to our surprise, Plusle requests to join us. Seeing how eager he is to help, Duking asks us to take him with. Plusle isn't strong, especially compared to our existing teammates, but he has a cause to fight for, just like us, and he'll also be easier to protect with me, which means they won't be able to try and leverage Duking again. With all that in mind, we agreed to take Plusle with us. While I'm not planning to field the little guy, he can be a cute team mascot, like a cheerleader of sorts. What would that be like, I wonder? As a child, I was always rather timid and quiet. Could you imagine me performing like a cheerleader or some kind of idol? An amusing thought. Anyway, with Plusle cheering us on from the sidelines, we give Duking our contact info and then depart. As we're leaving the city, we're stopped by a local fortune teller, Fatine, who uses her power to scry the future and tells us that the key to freeing the Pokemon from the Black Aura lies in the north. Hearing that, Chat remembers that they were on their way to visit their grandparents who live in Agate Village to the north. Apparently Chat's grandfather used to be a famous trainer, and so he might know more. With no other leads, and Chat wanting to check up on their grandparents, we depart. We rumble through the desert, leaving sand in our wake, but eventually the harsh landscape gives way to smoother terrain. We see fields that actually have a little grass, and that turns to greener pastures. While it's not as verdant as some lands I've visited, I'm surprised to see that perhaps not all of Orre was as desolate as I originally thought. Life does find ways to endure, even in the harshest of conditions. Finally, we come to a cliffside, surrounded by lush greenery. A cool breeze caresses us. It feels comforting, almost like home. A nostalgic feeling that soothes me. I wonder if the Shadow Pokemon will feel the same. But I can't let them roam freely for fear they might attack someone, so for now, I allow Chat to lead me to their grandparents' home. Along the way, we find some items littered about, and meet a lady who asks if I'm Chat's boyfriend. Everyone really seems to think we're a cute couple, huh? She then jokes that her Mightyena is her boyfriend, and I fight the urge to snag that Pokemon into protective custody. Climbing to the top of the village, we arrive at Chat's grandparents' home. They reunite, and their grandparents, Egan and Bella, express their worry when Chat didn't arrive as expected. Chat explains how they'd been abducted, and how I stepped in to help. Chat's grandfather, Egan, is confused at first as to why anyone would abduct Chat. Chat begins to explain the situation with the Shadow Pokemon when a scream cuts the conversation short. A man rushes in to tell Egan that strange people showed up and barged their way into somewhere called the Relic Forest. Hearing that, Egan rushes out. Bella asks us to go after him, so chat leads me to a cave at the bottom of the village. Inside, we see more of those masked grunts, and quickly knock them aside. We exit the cave into a clearing. Before us, mossy stones extend into a verdant forest, exuding a serene, calming feel. The very air is filled with an aura of comforting nostalgia, a sunny feeling. Beams of light cast an almost mystical air over the clearing. However, rushing ahead, we find another masked man battling with Egan in front of a stone structure. We arrive just in time to see Egan's Pikachu get defeated by the man's Hitmontop. Chad identifies the Hitmontop as a Shadow Pokemon, and I step in to fight him next. The man is a bit of a tougher fight. We go back and forth, knocking each other's Pokemon out. However, after his Shadow Hitmontop burns itself taking out Slugma, I manage to catch it, and then we clean up the rest of his team. With no more Pokemon, the man grumbles that he had been instructed to capture Celebi and destroy the Relic Stone. But since that plan failed, he needs to head to Mount Battle and inform someone named Dakeem, who we can assume is his higher-up. With Egan safe, we escort him back to his home. Returned safe and sound, Egan receives an earful from Bella about his recklessness, but then muses on the masked man's words, that there might be a connection between Celebi and the Shadow Pokemon. Hearing that he doesn't have anything beyond mere speculation, Chad is disappointed, having hoped Egan would have the answers we were looking for. That's when Bella reminds him of a stone tablet they have in their possession that might have some clues. She leaves to look for it, while Egan instructs us to look for a local man named Senelor, who's the town's foremost expert on Celebi. Eventually, we locate the man, and while he doesn't seem to be the most reliable source, he explains that the relic of the titular Relic Forest is said to hold remnants of the power of Celebi's time travel, and that it can revive the most pleasant, enjoyable memories of a Pokemon. He then adds that to meet Celebi directly, an artifact called a Time Flute must be used, and that Celebi could most likely cleanse the darkness in the heart of any Pokemon. With that bit of info, we return to Chat's grandparents. When we do, we find that Bella has found the tablet, which reads, "In Agate's mystic relic, Celebi's power shelters, a heart imprisoned by shadows, its last door shall be opened by the power within." Egan speculates that the relic will have an effect on Shadow Pokemon, but we're interrupted by a message on my PDA. It's from Duking, who requests our help in defeating some thugs who are attempting to take over Mount Battle. He speculates they're from the same group as Mirror B. Combined with what we heard in the Relic Forest, of Mount Battle being a target, that seems most likely. Chad asks Egan where Mount Battle is, and he says that it's to the northeast of the village, imploring us to hurry. Before we do though, I want to take the time to investigate the Relic Forest once more. In the secluded grove, we see that same strange stone structure, which we assume to be the relic we've been hearing about. On the ground nearby, we find another file that the masked man must have dropped as he hurried away. It explains that the purification of Shadow Pokemon has multiple factors, and Celebi's power seems to boost the process, being able to allow Pokemon to recall how its heart was before it was closed, and revert to its original form. It then goes on to note that the Relic Stone has the power to complete the purification process, and should thus be destroyed. Once again, it's signed by the enigmatic Ein. This all aligns with what we learned recently. The man who first called Egan for help, who seems to be the Relic Stone's caretaker, then explains that must be why they're attacking Mount Battle, as a man there named Vander apparently has the power to summon Celebi. Before we depart for Mount Battle, I decide to test this Relic Stone. Here among the verdant trees, some of the last reminders that growth can occur in this desolate wasteland, the seeds of hope take root. As we stand in the shimmering grove where dappled sunlight dances around the Relic Stone, we can finally save the Shadow Pokemon. I release one of the ones I have with me. First up, the Swablu. I have it touch the stone. A shimmer of green light fills the tiny bird, and I can almost see clouds of dark smoke disperse from the Pokemon. Immediately, its demeanor changes and becomes more cheerful. Chat confirms it. The aura is gone. Swablu has been purified. The caretaker then offers us a ribbon for Swablu to commemorate the occasion, and says that he'll give one to every Pokemon we purify. While not our goal, I suppose it adds a minor incentive to keep this up, and make these Pokemon feel a bit happier after their long ordeal. One by one we purify all the Pokemon we can. It seems the Relic Stone cannot instantly banish the shadows in a Pokemon's heart. As was suggested by Senelor, only Celebi can do that. But the stone can give a Pokemon whose heart is almost open already the last push it needs to finally return to normal. So, while we can't purify them all now, we know that we can eventually save all these Pokemon by opening their hearts, walking alongside them, growing bonds through battle. In addition to Swablu, we purify Slugma, Flaffy, Furret, Quagsire, Mantine, and finally Skiploom, who upon becoming purified, instantly evolves into a Jumpluff. It seems that while Shadow Pokemon can't grow beyond the power level they were at when they first had their hearts locked, when purified, they gain some of the experience they would have gained normally, and that was enough to cause the evolution. By now, after all the battles I'd shared alongside these Pokemon, I could feel the door to my own heart beginning to loosen. Bonds of trust were forming. They weren't yet in full bloom, but I was beginning to feel I could count on these guys, and hopefully they felt the same about me. We had grown comfortable enough that I could even give them some silly nicknames. You know, just as a joke, nothing that serious. But I'm feeling a connection to these guys. I won't nickname every Pokemon we get, but I decided to give a few here. My two partners I decided to name first. Espeon is Soraya, and Umbreon Lunoct. Swablu is Stratuffy, Slugma is Mamagma. Flaffy I dub Baazap, Furret I name Cinnaru, Quagsire Grubblebup, Mantine is Mantoruba, and the newly evolved Jumpluff is Mondali. With renewed hope and a burgeoning sense of friendship, we depart for Mount Battle. We speed further north, to the tallest mountain in Orre. Well, it's actually a volcano, but fortunately it hasn't erupted and destroyed the region. Between two smaller cliff faces is nestled a building, which acts as the gate to the towering volcano, dwarfing us all under its shadow. This place is known for being a gathering place for the strongest trainers in Orre, and one of the few things that actually draws foreign trainers to the region to test their strength against the never-ending climb of battle, hence its name. And yet, why didn't the stronger guys come down from further up the mountain and help? Well, Duking asked us for backup, so it's up to us. And I guess it's for the best. We're the only ones who can snag any Shadow Pokemon they brought with them. Perhaps Duking asked them to just hold them off until we could arrive for that very reason. Regardless, we enter the facility. Within, we find a few panicked people who say that the intruders are targeting Vander, and that the Pokemon they're using aren't normal. Of course, we know what that means. We prepare to head to the challenge zone, when the receptionist stops us, saying it's too dangerous with the thugs in there, but Chad explains that it was Duking who sent us to help. We step onto the first platform and are stopped by a trainer who tells us to turn back, as all battles are on hold. When we explain that we're here to help, he instead calls out his Pokemon to fight. We sweep him aside fairly easily, and he complains that Master Dakim will reprimand him. It looks like these thugs are posing as actual trainers to try and keep people out, so we begin the process of pushing through all these imposters, taking them out without too much effort. Fortunately, albeit unintentionally, these guys are serving the actual purpose of Mount Battle and helping us train. We both work on getting stronger and improving our bond with some of the unpurified Shadow Pokemon. Eventually, we reach the 8th battle, where we see more of those thugs all dressed up in their masks and uniforms. They've dropped their disguise act altogether. We must be close. A few more uneventful fights, and we're heading into Area 10. Curiously, we haven't seen any Shadow Pokemon since arriving here. Rushing into Zone 10, we see a behemoth of a man push someone over while bellowing that he could have avoided this if he had just handed over the Time Flute. Hearing us approach, he turns, his fiery hair and face paint giving him the impression of some sort of demon. He sizes me up. "That outfit of yours, you must be the troublemaker who messed with Scrub in Celebi's forest. And now you've come to mess with me, the Great Dakim. Don't make me laugh. I'll pound a lesson into your flesh and bones so that you'll never even think of bothering me again." He sends out Metang and Camerupt, while I lead with Stratuffy and Mantoruba. Stratuffy sings to put the Metang to sleep, while Mantoruba uses Supersonic on Camerupt. While Metang slumbers, Camerupt launches a flamethrower at Stratuffy, who just barely hangs on. Seeing this, I recall Stratuffy and send out Grubblebup, while Mantoruba's Bubble Beam easily dispatches Camerupt. In its place, Dakim sends out Golem. And unfortunately, Metang wakes up early, hitting with a strong Psychic on Grubblebup. Mantoruba's next Bubble Beam takes out Golem, who's replaced with Marsh Stomp. Grubblebup barely tanks another Psychic and responds with a weak Surf. Seeing this, I instead have Mantoruba use Supersonic again, confusing Metang, which immediately pays off. Meanwhile, Marshstomp's Mud Shot takes out Grubblebup. I recall him and send out Mamagma. It's dangerous with Marshstomp there, but she's our best bet against Metang. I attempt to cover for her by confusing Marshstomp, but it misses, leaving it free to KO, while Metang remains confused. It isn't currently a threat, but losing our best answer for it is unfortunate. I send out Lunoct. Another Supersonic misses, while Lunoct's bite chips Metang, flinching it. He then shrugs off another Mud Shot. Supersonic finally lands on Marshstomp, but Lunoct gets hit by more mud, all while Metang is still confused. Lunoct's bite leaves Metang just barely holding on. I decide to focus on Marshstomp for now. First, Wing Attack connects. but Metang finally breaks through confusion to launch an Earthquake, hitting both Marshtomp and Lunoct for solid damage. Marshtomp trips over itself in confusion while preparing its attack, and Lunoct finishes it. With a little help from our enemies, we finally dispatched it. We're looking good, but Dakeem is tough, and I know he must have a Shadow Pokemon. I prepare myself for what's to come, but I couldn't have expected what he did next. Not bad! How about this then? He threw his ball, and from it emerged an intimidating sight. Towering over us like the Mount Battle volcano itself, the legendary fire Pokemon, Entei. And what's more, Chat's shocked, quivering voice soon followed. But Brandon, it's a Shadow Pokemon. So these guys have managed to capture legendary Pokemon and corrupt even their hearts? I shake off my disbelief. No time to overthink it now. I have to remember my mission. Entei launches a Fire Blast, the enormous inferno nearly finishing Lunoct. But of course, my partner endures. Mantaruba is able to get a Supersonic off on the beast. Metang launches an Earthquake that deals a lot of damage to Entei, and finally downs Lunoct. I swap him for Soraya. Entei is faster and Soraya goes down to a Shadow Rush. This isn't good. Not only is my team running ragged, between Metang's Earthquakes and Shadow Rush recoil, I know that Entei could fall, and I'll miss my chance to snag it. I send out Sirtuffy, while Mantaruba finally fells Metang. It looks like Entei is Dakeem's last Pokemon. It hurts itself in confusion. Sirtuffy's Sing misses, and Entei takes him out with a bite. I take the chance to heal, while trying to soften it with Grubblebub's Mud Shot, which does more than expected. With no other options, I start throwing Ultra Balls. The snag machine whirs, and the ball flies. But Entei breaks free. Of course, conquering a legend will be no easy feat. Entei retaliates with a Shadow Rush to take out Grubblebub, and just barely survives. It's shaky and won't last much longer. I throw another ball. Unsurprisingly, it fails too, but fortunately, Entei uses Fire Blast on Lunoct instead of Shadow Rush. He's able to barely tank the hit. The pressure is on. I throw another ball. No luck. Entei's bite finishes him. I don't have time to heal, and we're both on our last Pokemon. It's all down to this. I throw another ball, and Entei breaks free. It retaliates with Shadow Rush. Mantaruba endures, but the recoil causes Entei to fall. Dakeem quickly recalls the beast. I won, but it's a hollow victory. For the first time, I failed to reclaim a Shadow Pokemon. The way you handled those Pokemon with your audacious skill. Who are you? He's interrupted though by the grunt from the forest charging in. Ah, scrub. You were hopelessly outclassed against him. You had zero chance of winning. He glares at me bitterly. I'm pulling out for now. You go to Ein's lab and help out there. Ein, the name from the Shadow Pokemon files. As they withdraw, Dakeem turns to me once more. This isn't over yet. Stronger Pokemon are being made, even now. You better get serious about training your Pokemon for our next meeting. He warns with a hearty, sinister laugh, before jumping backwards out of the arena. I hate to admit it, but he was truly a powerful foe, both physically, but also as a trainer. While I was ahead, when it came time to snag Entei, he quickly closed the gap between us and almost won. He's right. I need to get stronger. I push that aside for now, though. Chat rushes over to help the guy on the ground, while I pick up something Dakeem dropped, labeled F-Disc. The guy thanks us for rescuing him and introduces himself as Vander, the first area leader of Mount Battle. Chat explains everything that's been happening. Once they're done, Vander nods. What you told me explains a lot. Thanks to you, I know exactly why they attacked us. He holds out an aged wooden flute. Dull green rings decorate it, and from the end hang two tassels, pink and green with beads of the opposite color that catch the sun's light. This is the Time Flute, he explains. I happened to find it while I was on my training trek. It's said that the Time Flute will summon Celebi, but just once. There must be something about Celebi that frightens them. They obviously don't want Celebi to encounter Shadow Pokemon. This lines up with what we know currently. That's why they wanted to destroy the Relic Stone, and also get the Time Flute. We return to the reception hall, and as we're preparing to depart, Vander goes quiet for a moment before handing me the Time Flute. He urges me to protect it, and if needed, use it to save Shadow Pokemon. We thank him for entrusting us with the relic. I can't shake the frustration of failing to catch Entei. Dakeem said we'd battle again. I just hope I can save Entei next time. No, I resolve that I will save it next time. Failure isn't an option. If I'm going to atone, I need to save everyone, even the Shadow Pokemon I wasn't directly responsible for. I stew on these thoughts over the long ride back to Pyrite Town. We report that Mount Battle is safe, as well as what this organization was planning to Duking. He's relieved to hear things worked out, but encourages us to keep investigating the relic. Heading back to Agate, we update Egan as well, who expresses that he expected nothing less from us and encourages us to call Celebi. But given that we can only do so once, I don't want to unless absolutely necessary. He also asks for my contact info in case of emergency. I give it to him, in case they return to attack the Relic Stone again. Bella also encourages me to try training at Mount Battle. We should train, but they're still cleaning up from Dakim's invasion. While we're here, I use the stone to purify Noctowl and Quilava, the latter of whom I decide to name Velocos. We hear rumors about an old lab in the desert with ties to a mysterious organization, and investigate. Despite being so isolated, it's well defended with an electrified fence, making it impossible to get in. I then receive a message from Duking, stating they've nabbed some people they think work for Mirror B, and I should come back to Pyrite to see if I can get any info from them. Out of leads, we decide to ride back. Once there, we head to Pyrite's jail, where they're being detained. The police inform us that they apprehended them trying to sneak back into the old building. In the cells, we see some of Mirror B's henchmen. Chief Shirls explains that they haven't gotten any info from them, but requests my contact info to keep me updated. While he goes back to some paperwork, I spy the cell key on his desk. Discreetly, I grab it and slip into the cell. One of the girls is sleeping, a key on her belt, which I grab. Chat and I return to the old building and give it another look. There must be a reason they returned, despite knowing there was a chance they'd be caught. Inside, we see a rusty elevator being guarded by a woman who says it's off limits. Suspicious. I quickly battle her and then investigate. Sure enough, there's a lock that the key fits. Clambering aboard, the elevator creaks and rattles as it begins its descent into the depths. Finally, it comes to a stop, and we step off into a dimly lit area that's surprisingly filled with people. It's a tiny town hidden away down here. Who could have guessed there was a literal seedy underbelly to Pyrite Town? As we arrive, a news broadcast appears on a massive screen in what appears to be this place's equivalent to a town square. It's for something called the Undertime, which seems to be a local broadcast. They show a woman called Venus, who declares that there are spies right here in the Under. I guess that's what this place is called. She says they don't have all the details and asks people to keep an eye out. Then the broadcast ends. I guess we'll have to do our best to blend in here, but it sounds like this group already has quite a hold on the Under. Chad is surprised they already know about us and reminds me to be cautious. We wander around to get a lay of the land. We don't see anything too off, and no one seems to notice us. We pick up some lemonades and engage in some battles, hoping to find either shadow Pokemon or some intel. At the store, we pick up some TMs to overhaul our movesets, and continuing to wander the area, we meet an interesting bodybuilder. She says that the Cipher admins Dakim and Mirror B were both beaten down, and the enemy must be strong. This is actually the first time we've heard the name Cipher. It seems this is the name of the shadowy organization pulling the strings. Eventually, we find a hotel. On the TV in the upstairs lobby, Venus, who most of the Under seems enamored with, expresses frustration that the spies haven't been found yet. Good to know our cover hasn't been blown, but she must have some crazy expectations. We've only been here like 20 minutes. Did she really expect us to be found that quick? After that, we meet a trainer who mentions that if you win in the Under's Colosseum, you can receive a shadow Pokemon from Venus. He then challenges me to a battle. His Feebas and Magikarp predictably don't amount to much, though his Wailord lasts a few hits. At least now we know that Cipher's plan seems to be the same here as up top in Pyrite, using the Colosseum to distribute Pokemon. But I'm not ready to go challenge the Colosseum and risk blowing our cover yet, so we continue looking around. We soon stumble into a junk shop, and while browsing for anything that might be useful for my ride, we happen upon a kid who recognizes both me and Chat by name. At first I think our cover is blown, but he just asks me to deliver some parts to someone named Net, and to tell him it's from Pear. He says to look for a house with a big antenna out front, before hurrying us along. Given that he didn't sound an alarm about us, I decide to trust him for now, and follow his instructions. We quickly locate the house. There's a boy out front, and when I tell him I brought the part, he seems shocked to see us, asking if we're the Brandon and Chat. Well, it looks like we're celebrities. Soon enough I'll have people swooning for me like this Lady Venus. Maybe an idol career really is in the cards for me after this redemption thing. The kid hurries us inside, excitedly exclaiming to two other kids named Meg and Net that he brought some shocking company. A boy and girl excitedly rush over to see us. I feel a little embarrassed being hyped up like this, being treated like a hero. The boy, Net, explains that he heard about us from Sec and Pyrite. I vaguely remember that as one of the names of the kids hanging out in the room behind Duking's bookcase. I hand him the part, and he excitedly says it's the last thing he needs to get the kids' grid running again. He grabs my hand and drags me over to a nearby computer. They explain their network was being jammed by a signal which stopped him from hacking Cipher's computer, but now he can try and hack them again for useful info. Bit adds that Ned is a genius and has been gathering info on the crooks. Meg also asks for my contact info. As weird as it is, these kids seem to be working against Cipher too, so I guess that makes us allies. I give it to them and they say they'll be in touch if they learn anything. They also mention there seems to be a lab making shadow Pokemon somewhere, but no one is sure where or how to get in. I suppose eventually we'll need to look into that. As we leave Net's house, we hear someone shouting that the spy has been discovered. We slip into the crowd to get a look. To our surprise, it's none other than Silva. He's been tied up and is led to a fenced-off area where they lock him up. The Cipher grunts who are escorting him leave, presumably to go alert Venus. After a moment of gawking, the crowd loses interest in Silva, and I quickly slip to the side of his makeshift cell, calling him over. Seeing me, he explains that he discovered that they were using the elevator to bring shadow Pokemon to Pyrite from here, but before he could do anything, he was caught. While he was being captured, he managed to snag something off them and hide it. He passes a disc just like the one Dakeem dropped through the bars, this one labeled our disc. He then encourages us not to worry about him and to just work on taking down Cipher. As we're leaving, the two Cipher grunts see us, and thinking we came to save Silva, try and fight me. Well, they're only half wrong. We're technically with Silva, but we're not really trying to save him at the moment. They both go down quickly, and I snag a Shadow Ledian off one of them. After being defeated, they both run off. I assume they're going to alert Venus. They rush ahead and we give chase, but lose them in the crowd. I see them running on the other side of a large ravine that runs through the Under. Nearby is a terminal of some sort. Quickly investigating, it looks like the disc we got from Silva can be inserted, as can the one from Dakeem. I used that one first, and it says it's set for travel in the forward direction, and to now board. A small hovering platform is nearby, which we step on, and it carries us across the ravine to the Under's Colosseum. It seems this UFO device can help us travel, but it didn't take us to where those Cipher grunts were. We return to the terminal and try the disc from Silva, and this time it takes us to the right, near where we saw them. They seem to have entered a nearby building. It looks unassuming and decrepit, but this must be where Venus is. As we approach, I don't know why, but I get a foreboding feeling about that building, as if we aren't yet ready for what would happen if we entered there. As if our entire journey could end right here. After all, we are deep in enemy territory now. Dakeem was a close win, and even then we failed to catch Entei. We didn't even really have a concrete strategy, I realized. I briefly discussed this with chat, and we agreed that we should step back a bit, evaluate our team, and make sure we were properly prepared. Unfortunately, we still couldn't get Silva out, but he told us once more not to worry. The best thing to do for now would be to make sure we were properly prepared, then we'd be able to free him. And also, Venus would be on alert, expecting us to confront her right away. Sneaking away in the confusion would let us get the drop on her later. So with that, we slipped out of the Under to go prepare. As we retreat, I can't help but wonder if that premonition was the work of Celebi, reaching across time to guide me, preventing a terrible fate, a bad future from coming to pass. Or perhaps it was the Rainbow's blessing. Whatever the case, we can't afford to waste this chance to be fully prepared. We decide to first take stock of which Pokemon we have up to this point. From here, it will become difficult to rotate in new team members, get them purified and caught up to speed with our existing Pokemon, so unless they add something extraordinary to the team, it's best to use what we have already. Looking at the available options, we have some potential synergies here. Bazap, Mantaruba, and Grubblebup can make a decent Rain Core, while Pokemon like Hitmontop, Mondali, and Stratuffy add general support options like Intimidate and Status. But, chat made me make a Sun team. Because of my bright and sunny personality? Actually, they wanted to force me to use Slug. I wanted to make a Rain team for the record. But hey, this is a tale of redemption and second chances. Surely that means even a Pokemon with a terrible reputation like Slugma can prove itself to be capable of greatness. Right? So I set my team. Soraya and Lunoct would of course be accompanying us. Soraya with fast and strong Psychic, as well as some support options in Helping Hand and Reflect. Lunockt will be our main wall, keeping us stable in a pinch, and having access to disruption moves like Taunt. Our main core for the Sun part of the team consists of Volocos and Mondali, and chat's favorite, the team mom, Mamagma. Volocos has Sunny Day support to boost fire moves, Mamagma also has Sunny Day as well as fire and rock moves, as well as access to sleep via Yawn, and Mondali having support options like Sleep Powder, grass coverage for water Pokemon, and also receiving a speed boost in Sun thanks to its ability Chlorophyll, potentially letting it take care of foes in an emergency by outspeeding to put it to sleep or pick off a weakened foe. In the last slot, I decide to add Stratuffy for neutral dragon damage, decent resistances, and access to a decent move pool in the future for type coverage like Ice Beam, and the option to run fire moves that would be boosted in the Sun. Additionally, once Volocos learns Earthquake, Stratuffy and Mondali would be able to avoid it due to being flying, meaning they won't need to protect like Soraya, Lunockt, and especially Mamagma would. With that all sorted, several of our team members could use some upgrades. First we head back to Phoenix City. There we participate in their Colosseum challenge. Each round is full of extremely weak Pokemon, but it's worth it for the prize of money and a TM for each victory. We complete 4 rounds of the tournament to win the TMs for Rain Dance, Sunny Day, Giga Drain, and Solar Beam. Rain Dance is useless for our team, thanks chat, but Giga Drain and Solar Beam both give Mondali offensive options, while Lunockt gets Sunny Day as someone who will almost be guaranteed to live a hit and get the Sun up. The Phoenix Stadium was a good warm-up for getting our team friendly and used to fighting alongside each other, but now's the time for the real training. We drive back across the desert to Mount Battle. I heal my team in preparation for the climb, and take a look at the prizes they have available by trading in the coupons you win here. There are a few strong moves like Psychic and Flamethrower, and some other items like rare berries, as well as useful battle items like leftovers and choice bands, but they're all expensive. The most valuable thing of all, though, is, of course, the experience we'll gain from the battles themselves. I register with the receptionist and begin the challenge. We start from the bottom and work our way up the colossal mountain that casts its shadow over the region, aiming for the top, for the strength to stop Cipher. It was easy at first. By the 7th battle, we were already seeing results with our training, as Stratuffy evolved into an Altaria. Shortly after, we make it to the end of Zone 1. Vander was pleased to see us again, but warned that he wouldn't go easy on us. However, as the first area leader, he was just a warm-up. We defeat him and then move into the break room. There we receive 100 coupons. Well, like I said, the experience is the real reward, right? We spent the next several hours battling through the various zones. We worked our way around the mountain, and after 26 battles, Volocos also evolved, becoming a Typhlosion. We toppled the area leaders for the 2nd and 3rd zones without much effort as well, and then after 30 battles, we found ourselves inside the volcano itself, the sweltering heat adding pressure and showing that things were quite literally heating up now. Another 9 battles in these rougher conditions brought us to the 4th area leader, the 40th battle overall. Our training was most certainly paying off, as Volocos and Mamagma alone were enough for his rock and ground types, despite the type disadvantage. And after that show of strength, as if drawing power from the volcano itself, Mamagma finally evolved as well, the last of the team to do so. Still, I knew we'd need even greater strength, so we pushed on. With our newfound power, we quickly pushed to the next area leader, the halfway point for the arduous journey up the mountain. But the area leader there fell just as easily as the rest. For reaching the halfway point, we were awarded another 800 coupons, which brought our winnings to 2,100. Not enough to buy anything of note. After climbing so far with these guys and chat, I can feel myself loosening up even more. I feel more comfortable around them. But I have to remember the goal. This, I remind myself during a well-deserved break, is what I'm fighting for. To enable these Pokemon, and all the ones still uncaught, whose hearts are mired in shadow, to live their lives, to grow and be free like this, with trainers or in the wild. That's why we need this strength. I finish a soda and prepare my team for more. After that brief rest, we still had a little energy, so we pushed further and began to feel the difficulty of the trainers that were worthy of serving as the back half of the challenge. After conquering the 60th battle, our reward was another 800 coupons. It didn't increase. I feel scammed. After a tough battle with the leader of Area 7, we nearly had enough coupons to get a good TM, but the team was getting a bit worn out. Instead of pushing forward, we went back to one of the lower floors and had a cooldown lap. It didn't take long, and with finally enough coupons, I grabbed an Ice Beam TM for Stratuffy for extra type coverage. Feeling confident in our preparations, we began the ride back to the Under. It's been a few days, so it looks like they think we got scared off, as no one is looking for us. We return to the terminal and insert the R disc, taking us to the building from earlier. Steeling myself, I push aside the door and rush in. It seems to be some sort of studio, and Venus is here. Seems we caught her off guard. Shocked at our intrusion, she turns to yell at us. "You two, you're holding up the film shoot. We're about to begin filming... Wait. Ah! I recognize those faces. Those faces were on the blacklist from headquarters. How did you find us?" Cornered, she sends out Bennett and Delcatty. I lead with Soraya and Lunoct, setting up Reflect while taunting Bennett. Delcatty uses Attract on Soraya, and Bennett then KOs with Shadow Ball. Despite our training, she took an early lead. I was right to pull back, but I won't let everyone's effort go to waste. Mamagma's up. I instruct Lunoct to use Taunt on the Delcatty to prevent Attract, but Venus uses Water Pulse instead. Luckily, Mamagma endures it and the follow-up Psychic before using Sunny Day. Lunoct hits Bayonet with Feint Attack, Delcatty finishes Mamagma with another Water Pulse, and I bring in Volocos, who tanks a Psychic. With the intense heat from Sunny Day powering it up, Volocos releases a massive Fire Blast to instantly down Delcatty, and Lunoct follows with another Feint Attack to finish Bayonet. With 2 KOs at once, we've recovered some momentum. Venus brings out Steelix and Vileplume. They both match poorly into Volocos, especially with the sun. I can't help but think, does she not have any better options? Lunoct taunts Vileplume to prevent status, while Volocos torches Steelix with a sun-boosted Flame Wheel, and Vileplume finds itself unable to use Attract. As the Steely Titan falls, I can't shake the feeling that our position isn't as good as it seems. We have the advantage, but despite everything, Venus doesn't seem nervous, in stark contrast to how flustered she was when she first recognized us. She still has an ace, and now she's ready to reveal it. With a calm smile, she throws her next ball. From it emerges the legendary beast of water, counterpart to Entei, Suicune. Of course, with a powerful Pokemon like that on her side, she's not nervous, and chat quietly confirms it. Suicune too has been made into a Shadow Pokemon. It seems she sent out 2 Fire-weak Pokemon earlier to buy time for the sun to start to wear off, before Suicune came out. Not a bad decision. Neither side has the advantage yet, but I'm determined not to let the beast tear through my team like Entei did. And I won't let her escape with it. The sun is still beating down, but won't last much longer. Volocos takes out Vileplume with another Flame Wheel, easily frying the plant. Only Suicune remains. Umbreon taunts while it uses Surf. Thanks to the intense sunlight, we're able to shrug off the damage. Even Volocos doesn't go down. However, just after that, the light fades. I need to weaken it while my team still has strength. Volocos lands another Flame Wheel, and Lunoct joins in with Feint Attack. Suicune now unleashes a full-powered Surf, but miraculously, Volocos endures the attack. Sopping wet and tired, he manages to stand tall. He gives me a nod. We both know we need to get Suicune in range for a capture now. I give the command for one more round of attacks. Suicune easily endures the onslaught and finishes Volocos, but he had a great showing. I call him back and send out Mondolai. Mondolai outspeeds Suicune and blasts it with Sleep Powder, while Lunoct barrels into it one more time. I can see it doesn't have much fight left. It slumbers while I charge an Ultra Ball. The snag machine whirs and I toss. It connects, but is easily broken. With nothing else to do, I have Lunoct taunt it to buy some time. As soon as the snag machine is recharged, I prepare the next ball. 1, 2, 3. It's caught. Venus doesn't even seem to notice though, as she immediately pouts that she's glad this fight didn't go live, her film crew fleeing from the room. I pick up the ball containing Suicune as she shrieks. How dare you! How could I get bested by a mere boy? Remember this, I'll get you back for this! And before I can react, she bolts from the room. A miscalculation on my part. I should have taken the chance to grab her. I immediately leap up and give chase. Chat follows, clutching another Ein file they found nearby. No time to read it now, though. We pursue Venus to a set of doors. I didn't see which one she went through, so I gamble on the one closest to us. We step out onto a large metal staircase in a massive room, and off to the side I see the other door with a walkway that leads to an elevator. Venus rushes inside the elevator and it closes. No time to wait for it. I start down the stairs, but immediately we're interrupted by a trainer. Chat tells me she has a shadow Pokemon, so unfortunately Venus's ploy succeeds in slowing us down. Venus is an admin of Cipher, sure, but she doesn't seem to be their strongest fighter, nor the mastermind behind the shadow Pokemon plot. She's just the pretty face they use to sway the masses. Between catching her, who might not know much relevant info, or saving these Pokemon, the mission has to take priority. So, doing our best to hurry, we fight this and the other trainers she laid out to slow us down, and rescue their shadow Gligar, Stantler, and Piloswine. After cleaning them up, we get to the bottom of the stairs and see another trainer in our path. She declares her intention to protect Venus from us, but I easily snag her Sneasel and defeat the rest of her Pokemon. Pushing past her, we see Venus and 2 Cipher Grunts preparing to board a train. The trainers must have bought just enough time for it to arrive. Before that horrible boy can meddle anymore, I'll link up with Ein at the Shadow Pokémon Lab. So this train can take us to the lab? It's even more important we grab her. But once again, before I can, she sees us.
Oh, why did you have to chase me here? It's so unfair. This isn't good. I can't lead them to the lab,
she says as they board the train. Once again, we pursue them. She's cornered now. We burst onto the train to find it empty. Where did she go? They slipped out instead of starting the train. We turn around and see her running away again. How does she have so much energy?
Oh, you are so easy to dupe.
She waves a key in front of our faces.
See? The key for the Shadow Liner is right here. You didn't really think I would let you take our train. Bye-bye. And this time I mean it. Don't you dare forget about me.
As we chase her, she slips into the elevator again. As I head for the stairs, Chat interrupts.
Forget her.
What? We can't give up here. I turn to Chat to see them holding the key. Looks like Venus dropped it while making her escape. Shouldn't have taken it out to taunt us. A fatal mistake. Chat's right. She's an admin, but the Shadow Lab is much more important. I tell Chat good job and we turn back to the Shadow Liner. I wonder how long it'll take Venus to realize how badly she messed up. We start the train and let it rumble down the dark path. While we do so, we take a moment to catch our breath and read the file Venus left behind. It's labeled Final Report and details discoveries they made about purification, its effects, and potential ways to use it to create even stronger shadow Pokemon. A terrifying thought. Ultimately, it's not much we didn't already know, although it notes that purified Pokemon return to their original nature. Since I didn't know these Pokemon before they became shadow Pokemon, I didn't know if their personality was the same. Hearing they regain their original nature is a relief, although I'm sure there must be lasting psychological effects of the process that the Pokemon would have to deal with. I silently reaffirm my desire to take Cipher down, and as we trundle through the darkness, it seems it won't be long before I get that chance. The Shadow Liner slows to a stop as we step off to see 2 members of Cipher. Seems they were a welcoming party for Venus, as they're confused where she is, only to suddenly recognize us and bolt, saying they can't let us into the lab. Naturally, we give chase, but as they disappear behind a pair of heavy metal doors, the ground shakes with a mighty rumble, fire erupting from them. After the smoke clears, we push our way inside to see a gap in the floor. The 2 men on the other side taunt us about being unable to catch them. The gap doesn't look too large to jump, but is perhaps a little unsafe. As I prepare to leap, Chat interrupts and points out that, like Venus, the 2 fools dropped a key. They pick it up and see it's labeled as Main Gate Key. Pretty lucky that my mere presence puts people into such a fluster that they fumble and drop things running away. Remembering the old lab in the desert we investigated earlier, we wonder if this key could open the gate there. While I'm not against trying to jump the gap, Chat doesn't have confidence in making the leap, so we decide to backtrack and try the gate. It'll also potentially allow us to catch Cipher off guard if they think they've given us the slip, so we ride the train back to the Under. As we're leaving to head to the lab, we see that Silva isn't in the cell. At first I fear the worst for him, but we see Bit inside, who explains that he snuck over and helped Silva escape. Relieved that he was able to get out, we depart. As we cross the desert, we briefly see the enormous tower construction site in the desert. I don't know why, but it makes me uneasy. I shake my thoughts and turn to the task at hand. If this key does indeed grant us access to that lab, we'll be even closer to the enemy than ever before. It wouldn't be bad to prepare for the worst. As we pull up to the dusty building, Chat rushes over and checks the key, seeing that their hunch was right, and that this is indeed the Shadow Pokémon Lab. Before we rush in, I talk to chat, and we agree to pass our location over to Duking and Shirl's. If we fall here, the authorities will at least be able to follow up on whatever we find. I send a message, and then, without waiting for a reply, we rush inside. There are 2 entrances. The first we try is locked, so we slip into the second. Within is another set of locked doors. The security's so tight. Eventually, we find a terminal with a switch for the shutter door, which I flip. Backtracking through it, we find a scientist grumbling about having to pack for the move out of the lab. Sounds like they're almost done here. We need to find any info we can before they leave. Seeing us, he freaks out and throws out a pair of Voltorb. They're quickly dispatched and he flees. We find a card key in the stuff he was moving. Back at the first doors, I scan it and they open. Finally, we can enter the lab proper. The elevator's doors open and we find ourselves in a hall shooting off into 3 directions. With no idea where to start, we head south. There we find a lab technician mumbling about dumping data. Noticing us, he attempts to battle, but like the last scientist, it's clear fighting isn't his strong suit. It'd be nice to be stealthy here, but I've got to fight in case they have shadow Pokemon to rescue. Wandering the halls, we find a room with empty lockers, but on the ground is a glass slide, some kind of sample. Chat picks it up, thinking it might be important to recover whatever data they're trying to hide. A Cipher peon ambushes us from behind. I snag his Shadow Apom and drive him off. We continue through an elevator and defeat a few more unimpressive scientists. One of them gloats that all the Shadow Pokemon have already been transported out, saying we can't stop their plan. He even hands me a key as he laughs, taunting us. I hope Shirls and the police will be able to round these guys up, but for now, we need to press further. We return to a locked door and use the key to open the way. Immediately we're jumped by another grunt. Mondeli and Mamagma easily beat her team, letting me snag her Shadow Murkrow. Delving deeper into the labyrinth, we come to a room with glass holding cells. A janitor is cleaning them. He explains that he was hired to take care of the Pokemon here, before sadly remarking that they were all taken away somewhere. It seems he wasn't directly linked with Cipher, and was actually fond of the Pokemon. He doesn't cause trouble, so we leave him to his cleaning. On the floor of one of the cells though, Chat recovers another sample. We're soon ambushed again. It doesn't take long to force her to send out her shadow, a Fortress, which I rescue as well. She was guarding yet another elevator. It's becoming disorienting here. I can't tell if we're going up or down, but we're seeing more and more of the place, so we must be making progress. After stepping out of the elevator, we're immediately greeted by another grunt. I snag his Shadow Ariados before dispatching him. He was guarding a room filled with costly equipment I couldn't begin to know what to do with. Not much is here, but another sample, which Chat collects. Returning the way we came, another peon drops from above. Sweeties, I think you've caused enough mischief already. Aw, she thinks we're sweet, but I doubt she felt that way for long after I snagged her Shadow Granbull. We continue to search the complex, defeating a few scientists who blocked our path. The second, after being defeated, triggered an alarm. Red lights flash and a wail fills the compound. I'm surprised not that this happened, but that it took so long for someone to sound the alarm. There's not much I can do now, but I imagine with that signal, everyone left is mobilizing to fight or rushing to delete whatever data they can. We need to hurry. Chat covers their ears, shrieking in terror, complaining how awful of a sound it is. But honestly, I kinda don't mind. It's better than the sound of my motorcycle at least. Maybe I need to trade it in for something quieter. Chat looks at me like I'm some kind of monster for being okay with this, but that's alright. This siren won't be enough to deter me after coming so far, so close to finally shutting down the Shadow Pokemon Lab. I push the scientist aside and we rush further in, but find a large locked door barring our path. The scientist laughs that we're trapped with no way further in, and that soon backup will arrive. I don't doubt that I can fight my way out if necessary, but there must be something important behind that door, or else why go to the trouble of stopping us? Near the door I see a keypad with different Pokemon on it. Some kind of code? We rush through the halls looking for some clue we missed. In one of the rooms, I scour the cabinets when Chat calls me over to a large machine. Apparently it's for analyzing Pokemon DNA. Chat scans the glass slides we found earlier, and they reveal Quilava, Suicune, and Mightyena, which are Pokemon I remember seeing on the keypad. I tell Chat good job, and we run back, but are interrupted by someone dropping from above. Chat informs me of her Shadow Vibrava, which I catch before finishing her other Pokemon. I turn to the keypad, quickly entering the Pokemon we saw. Fortunately, that was the correct solution, as the doors slide open and we step into the next room, only to see another peon. It's Scrub, who wants revenge for his humiliation at Relic Forest. His team still gets knocked aside easily, but at least no one was here to witness his defeat this time. We press down the stairs into another large room with strange equipment. We round the corner and see another scientist. Good. The disk has been scrubbed of all data. That's done it. My heart sinks. We were just a little too late to nab whatever info was on there. No guarantee it would have been useful though, I suppose. He turns around, startled upon seeing us. Huh! How did you get in without my notice? Behind his glasses, his eyes narrow. Ah, I see. You must be the much talked about Brandon. Little did I expect to see you here. I am Ein. My blood runs cold. It's him. The one who wrote those files. The one who oversaw the Shadow Pokemon research. I am the one in charge of the Shadow Pokemon Lab. No one must be allowed to interfere with our Shadow Pokemon plan. I won't allow it, he says coldly. Let me acquaint you with the power of my Shadow Pokemon. Standing here in front of the man responsible for making all these Shadow Pokemon, I glance down at my Pokeballs. All these fights have been important, but only now do I realize. At any moment, if we lose, not only would my journey end, they could take back these Pokemon, and I'd be powerless to stop them. Not only would the Pokemon become Shadow Pokemon again, but what about my partners, Soraya and Lunoct? I shake my head. It's a grim thought, but I can't focus on that now. We've got to keep fighting, same as we ever have, and we need to finish Ein to prevent that from ever happening. He might not be Cipher's head honcho, but of all the admins, this is the one I need to beat the most. He sends out a Lantern and Huntail while I lead Soraya and Mamagma, an unfortunate matchup out of the gate. To avoid giving him free hits, I don't switch. Soraya sets up Reflect and Mamagma tries Sunny Day, but Lantern launches a Hydro Pump. I pray for the miss, however, it connects, and the powerful jets of water fell her. I replace her with Mondolai. Huntail uses Surf. Next, Soraya hits Huntail with a strong Psybeam, and Mondolai begins charging Solar Beam. Lantern's Rain Dance starts a drizzle in the room. I guess since they're abandoning the lab, Ein doesn't mind drenching all this expensive equipment. Huntail also Rain Dances to no effect. But with Swift Swim now boosting its speed, Huntail confuses Soraya. He trips while Mondolai releases Solar Beam on Lantern, but it's weaker than I hoped. It retaliates with another Hydro Pump, finishing off Soraya. I call him back for Stratuffy. Ein's Rain is a strong counter to my Sun-based offense. Huntail confuses Stratuffy next. Mondolai's Giga Drain fails to KO Lantern, and Stratuffy lands Dragon Breath on Huntail, but then Lantern hits Mondolai with Confuse Ray as well, leaving both my Pokemon dizzy. Before we can attack, Huntail rushes down Stratuffy with a bite. Both my Pokemon sit confused, and Lantern looses Thunder on Mondolai. Already 2 Pokemon down, and with 2 more injured, we're in an increasingly worsening situation. Huntail bites Stratuffy, while Mondolai hits himself again. Stratuffy comes to his senses and uses Dragon Breath on Lantern, trying to save Mondolai, but it endures. Another bolt of thunder zaps our little Jumpluff. A third falls. Not like this. Lunoct comes out as the last drops of rain splatter on the ground. Stratuffy finishes Lantern off with a Dragon Breath. Finally, we've taken down his first Pokemon, but it's going to be an uphill battle. He sends out his own Altaria. Lunoct quickly lands Feint Attack to take out Huntail as well, bringing us closer to equilibrium. Golbat's out next, and immediately confuses Stratuffy again. As if sensing how critical this is, he powers through to land an Ice Beam on his rival Altaria. However, it doesn't get the KO. Worse, his Altaria retaliates with its own Ice Beam, which, combined with the prior damage, is enough to bring down Stratuffy. All I can do is send Volocos, while Lunoct taunts Golbat to stop Confuse Rays. Our backs are against the wall. We need to make big plays if we're going to claw back from this. Volocos launches Fire Blast. Luckily, it connects. A critical hit at a critical moment. The Scorched Bat falls. Ein recalls it with a calm and sinister smile. I know what's next. He throws the ball, and from it emerges the third beast, the lightning legendary Raikou. Chat, of course, confirms it as a Shadow Pokemon. I knew it would come to this, but had hoped to be wrong. We're already in such a bad position. Can I really catch Raikou? At least we've mostly evened things, with 3 of his Pokemon fainted to 4 of mine. Altaria flies, dodging Umbreon's Feint Attack. With lightning speed, Raikou unleashes Thunder on Volocos, who tanks the hit and retaliates by digging underground to evade Altaria's attack. Lunoct uses Sunny Day in the meantime. Heat envelops the room. The pressure is on. Raikou leers at Lunoct, who begins shaking under the powerful gaze. Just then, Villanous erupts from the ground and slams into the legendary, knocking it off guard with a powerful blow. Altaria flies up, evading Lunoc's toxic. The heat is getting to me, both from the sun and the overwhelming pressure. I need to act now. I ready the snag machine. Predictably, Raikou breaks free after only a single shake. It thunders in retaliation, but miraculously, lightning doesn't strike twice, and Villanous stands unscathed. Altaria hits him instead. Seemingly aware of the gravity of the situation, pouring his all into it, Villanous slides back from the impact, shaking his head as if to say, "No, not yet," and stumbles forward. "Great job, Villanous!" I can't help but exclaim. With Altaria in range, Lunocke poisons it. The heat grows ever stronger, and I decide to focus all my efforts on Raikou now. I prepare another ball, and begin healing my team, starting with Villanous. Again, Raikou escapes, and releases a Thunder at Villanous, but it also misses. Seeing the timer I've set him on, Ein uses Toxic as well, targeting Villanous. The sunlight beats down. Poison takes its toll. It won't be long now. I charge the next ball. A single shake. It breaks free, and again Thunder misses. Which will break first? Altaria flies up, evading Lunocke's attack. The sunlight fades, but the intense heat remains. The poison finally finishes Altaria, who tumbles out of the sky with a thud. I hold my breath. Does Ein have another Pokemon? A moment passes, but another Pokemon doesn't hit the field. It's 2 versus 1 now. But as we saw with Entei, Raikou can easily flip the tables on us. I throw the next ball. 3 shakes. The ball explodes as it breaks free once more. It retaliates with a Thunder that Villanous only barely endures. Lunocke sets the sun again, hoping to lower the Thunder's accuracy. Poison courses through Villanous. I see him stumble, but once again he refuses to go down, buying us a moment. I used most of our supplies on the way here. I use one of them to heal Villanous and throw the next ball. No luck. Despite the intense sunlight, Raikou manages to connect another Thunder on Villanous. The poison was gone, but now paralysis strikes. He manages to endure, but can't take much more. I heal again and throw another ball. No. Once more the Thunder connects. The cruel sunlight beats down. I dig through my pockets. One last potion. I heal Villanous. He's trying so hard. It's all I can do to keep fighting. The ball misses, but so does Thunder. The sun keeps shimmering. That's when I hear chat. "Catch!" They throw something. I catch it and look down. A revive. They must have run off to find this somewhere. "For Magma," they explain. I nod and use it to heal her. The first to fall, but now potentially our savior. I throw another ball. No luck. Thunder connects. Villanous is so tired. Just a little longer, I silently urge. The light fades. Another ball fails. More Thunder. This time it's too much. Villanous finally falls. I call him back. "You did great," I whisper. "Rest well. We will take it from here." I send out my Magma. It's now or never. Our last stand. Now the target of Raikou's rage, Lunocke tanks Shadow Rush. My Magma yawns, making Raikou drowsy. Another unsuccessful ball. Another Shadow Rush. It's only barely holding on. We've come too far to fail. Sacrifice too much. Its eyes close finally. We need to work quickly. I charge the ball and throw. Don't fail now. Don't wake up. Don't faint. So much is on this. 1, 2, 3. Click. It's done. At last. I want to fall. I can barely stand, but I hear Ein's voice. This power, it defies belief. Your struggle to get here was all in vain. The shadow Pokemon we produced have all been moved elsewhere, and that of course includes the ultimate shadow Pokemon I created for the boss. He laughs as he begins to run. I want to chase him so desperately, but I find myself unable to move, as if caught in a sticky web. The alarm continues blaring away, and I nearly fall, but chat catches me. It's okay, they say. I nod weakly. We scan the desk he was working at. In his haste, he left a data ROM. He said that he had scrubbed the files, but maybe, just maybe, there's some clue here. After everything we went through, I feel we have to take it. Nearby, we also find an earthquake TM, but it doesn't look like there's anything else of value. There's a nearby elevator which we take up, and use to leave the compound. As we step out of the lab, the alarm still blaring behind us, the harsh desert day is beginning to give way to dusk. Chief Shurls and his men have arrived, and begun rounding up the people here, but it seems Ein was able to slip away. I hope most of all that I get the chance to see him get his just reward, but for now, I stumble to my ride. There, I see a notification on my PDA. It's a message from Net. I guess he heard about our operation from Duking, because he requested that if we find any data in the lab, that we bring it to him in the Under. As the sun sets on this long day, we speed through the desert. Finally able to rest, I realize that we still need more strength. The rainbow blessed us today. So many things went right for us to pull through here. Chat finding the slides, Cipher dropping their keys. We pulled through, but we need to be able to do so on our own power next time. We might not be so lucky after all. And of course, my team went above and beyond too. I'm proud of our group. Chat, my Pokemon, and even myself, I suppose. We all played a part in this operation. Finally, we make it back to Pyrite and stumble into the inn. I messaged Net that we found something, but not to get his hopes up. I said that we'd be by tomorrow. First, my team more than earned a rest. The next day, while not 100%, I can at least walk properly again. So we visit Net to drop off the data ROM. Handing it to him, his eyes light up. Oh, now this looks interesting. Let's scope it out right away. He hooks it up to his computer and begins digging through the files. Oh hey! This data ROM appears to contain a list of shadow Pokemon that have been made so far. But no, it looks like they wiped the data. I nod solemnly. Yeah, it was a long shot. I guess it was in vain. Seeing me crestfallen, he realizes why I told him not to get his hopes up. Brandon, please leave this with me. I'll somehow try retrieving information from this data ROM, even if it means going over it little by little. He says it confidently. He's younger than me, but trying so hard. I can't lose faith. I nod and force a smile. Brandon, as soon as I discover anything, I'll email your PDA. Thank you, I whisper as we leave. On the way out, Bit calls out to me. He asks if we met up with Silva, who mentioned he was planning on checking out Realgam Tower, but Bit doesn't know where that is. We head to Fennec to restock our supplies. While I shop, Chat asks around about this tower. Eventually, they find it's a new place that just completed construction in the desert and will be opening in a few days. I have a feeling I know exactly where it is now. I tell Chat we'll check it out once it opens. Before then, I want to train after the close call in the lab. We decide to stop by the famous pre-gym to see how we measure up. They're not known for being as tough as Mount Battle, but I'm curious. I talk to Justy, who runs the place, to set up some battles. Chat says they'll be cheering for me. These battles aren't dangerous like those with Cipher, yet still Chat is supporting me with something this mundane. I appreciate that. The trainers end up being nothing special. They specialize in grass, water, ground, and rock-type Pokemon. They fall easily. Then, Justy asks to try his luck as well. He offers slightly more resistance, but still doesn't last long. I'm disappointed this is the best the gym could offer, but I suppose it's a decent warm-up for our real training on Mount Battle. Justy congratulates me and thanks me for the battle, before handing me the TM for return. Now that we've warmed up, it's time for some serious training. Although last time we were here, we reached Area 8, and could thus start there, I wanted to ease into things and decided to start on Area 6, so my teammates wouldn't be overwhelmed against the higher level opponents, and would have time to acclimate. We spend several hours training. They weren't overwhelmingly powerful, but give our team some good matches, and slowly but surely, we were getting stronger. While the fights are long and monotonous, I was grateful to have Chat on the sidelines cheering us on, even if they could get rambunctious at times.
And that's especially not something you want when you're having battle number 69. You really don't want the sand to get everywhere.
Anyway, we kept pushing our limits. 10 battles, 20, 30, 40. Eventually we climbed all the way to battle 90, the Gatekeeper, to the final zone. He employed grass types that would seemingly have a poor matchup with my team, but his Ludicolo proved a surprising challenge with its water attacks. We did finally take it down, and the rest of his Pokemon offered little resistance. At the end, we stood victorious, but it was by no means a free victory. We could now take on Mount Battle's final area, the last 10 battles. But if everyone there is this tough, I feel a bit underprepared. So instead, we head back to a lower zone and just even up my team, as a few Pokemon have fallen a little behind. Giving them some extra focus though, they soon caught up with the rest of the group. We could probably handle the final climb now, but I figure I should let my team rest instead of pushing them to their limit. So we return to Pyrite's hotel. It won't be long before Realgam Tower opens. The next day, Duking told us there had been reports of someone sneaking into the Pyrite Cave and asked us to check it out. With some time to kill, we agree. After all, they might have one of the missing shadow Pokemon. As we climb the old Pyrite building to reach the cave, we find that many of the trainers who had been here when we first went to confront Mirabee had returned. While they weren't difficult to deal with, they were annoying and slowed our investigation. Eventually we made it back to the cave. As we once more descended the tunnels, I couldn't help but wonder if perhaps Mirabee himself had returned, gathered his followers, and were once more attempting to take Pyrite. Shortly, we returned to the room where we first fought Mirabee, and there we found a delusional Mirabee cosplayer? Of all things, that wasn't what I expected. He claimed to be Mirabee's successor and challenged us. While he was stronger than the other trainers in the building, and perhaps was gathering them here for some sinister plan, he wasn't as strong as the real Mirabee and lacked a shadow Pokemon. While it was a waste of time in the end, I suppose it was best to quash any plans before they could come to fruition. We reported our findings to Duking, who sent Chief Shurls in to clean up the stragglers. We spent the rest of our day making sure our supplies were ready and resting. After another night's rest, it was finally time, the grand opening of Realgam Tower. As the morning light began to shine, we take off across the desert once more, back to the massive tower where Silva stashed the gear. Both he and us. We're all being drawn back here. It's funny in a way. As we pull up to the gleaming tower, shining like crystal, I marvel at its size and glamour. Two men stand like bouncers at a club. I step forward, expecting to be turned away. Instead, the men smile and greet us. "Hello, welcome to Realgam Tower. Today is our opening day," one says. The other chimes in. "We've been expecting you. Now, please, do go in." Uneasy, we head through the doors. Behind us, I hear him add, "There's still time before the main event. Feel free to explore." We step into a small dome-shaped room. Polished floors give an air of luxury, like a casino. We head for the door ahead of us. It opens to reveal a glass tube extending far forward, a small platform before us. Stepping on, it carries us into another small room with a PC, healing machine, and an old man who asks if we're lost. Chad explains that we don't even know what this place is. He smiles kindly and offers to escort us. "Where?" Chad asks. With a simple twist, he removed his disguise to reveal Cipher's uniform. "It's to your doom!" He seemed disappointed by how unimpressed I was, but that confirmed the suspicions I had after what the doorman said. The tower was a trap laid by Cipher. They were expecting us. I suppose they've gotten tired of our meddling. Well, nothing to do but meet them head on. With only a few weak poison types that fell to Soraya's Psybeams, he failed to make much of an impression and went running. It's not worth it to burn myself out chasing him. Instead, I informed Duking about it. I'm sure Silva already contacted him, but just in case, I message him. He can alert Shurls and his officers. Then, we push further into the tower, riding more platforms through the tubes. We encounter a few more grunts. We beat them aside easily as well, snagging their shadow Sunflora and Delibird. Then we come to a room with an intricate door, flanked by wall-mounted Pokeball-shaped devices in shining metallic red, blue, green, and gold. The door is locked, and looking at the Pokeballs, they have slots to scan cards. It looks like when the guard told us to feel free to explore, it wasn't a friendly suggestion. I assume we'll need to hunt down the card holders. I decide the best course of action is to backtrack to the start and make our way back here, investigating the other paths as we do. To kick off our raid of the tower, we take the left path, and who stands there but Mirabee? I wonder if he knows he had such a dedicated fan back in Pyrite. Seeing me, he lets out a hearty laugh. "Oh, you kept me waiting, Brandon. You ruined things in Pyrite for us. But you know, we're not about to lose over and over to you. This time, I'll win. And I mean it this time. Let the music play. Oh, never mind that. We'll battle right away." I'm surprised that instead of his team of Ludicolo, he leads with Golduck and Loudred. I send out Mamagma and Mondali. Since Mamagma is vulnerable to Golduck's water attacks, I have Mondali cover for her by opening with Sleep Powder. While Golduck slumbers, Loudred launches an Earthquake for quadruple damage on Mamagma. But she's strong enough to endure the attack and set up the sun. Mondali's instant Solar Beam KOs Golduck. Mirabee responds by sending out one of his trademark Ludicolo. Loudred uses Earthquake again, fainting Mamagma and doing decent damage to his teammate. I send in Soraya, who uses Helping Hand to assist Mondali, who fires off another instant Solar Beam to finish Ludicolo before it can set rain. He replaces Ludicolo with another, and Loudred uses Shadow Ball on Soraya, who won't be able to take another hit. The weather isn't as important now, so instead of focusing both our attacks on Ludicolo, I opt to have Mondali shoot an unaided Solar Beam at Ludicolo, while Soraya attacks Loudred with a Psychic that knocks it out. It's replaced by Armaldo, while Ludicolo takes the opportunity to set up rain. As water splatters across the floor of the room, Ludicolo begins to recover its health. Mondali charges another Solar Beam, while Ludicolo uses Leech Seed on Soraya, and Armaldo slices Mondali with Aerial Ace. Soraya uses Psychic, one-shotting the Armaldo. He doesn't send out another Pokemon though. We've got him on the ropes. Mondali finishes charging his Solar Beam and hits Ludicolo, but with passive recovery from Rain Dish and Leech Seed, it healed enough to survive, and dives under the water pooling in the room. Mondali charges again while Soraya protects against the dive, but finally falls to Leech Seed. I recall him for Stratuffy. Mondali fires Solar Beam and Stratuffy joins in with Dragon Breath, but the combined attack just barely fails to finish Ludicolo, who dives again as the rain comes to a stop. We wait for it to resurface, hitting Mondali for meager damage before finishing it with a Giga Drain. Mirabee recalls his last Pokemon. "This just won't do. But I'll admit, you've beaten me thoroughly. Okay, since I'm done, I'll give you this. Here," he said, handing me a red ID badge. "Think of that as a little gift from our great leader Nascour. Don't leave without it, because you'll get nowhere. But you know, maybe it'd be for your own good if you didn't go on." He laughed as he made his exit. Having obtained this badge, there's no doubt the other Cipher admins are waiting for me here, ready to get their revenge, and that we'll need to get all their keycards before we can find this Nascour. We continued our search of the area, and quickly came across Dakim. The imposing figure roared with laughter at seeing me. Your luck ran out when you showed up before me. Your stab at adventure's gone on long enough." As we prepared for battle, I thought that I couldn't disagree more. Now that Dakim is before me, I have a chance to save Entei once more. I think my luck is picking up, if anything. He starts with Claydol and Flygon, while I counter with Stratuffy and Mondali. Immediately, Mondali tries to scatter Sleep Powder on Claydol, but misses. Meanwhile, Stratuffy lets loose an Ice Beam on Flygon, easily toppling it. Dakim responds with Fortress, while Claydol sets Sun. I knew my luck was on the upswing. Last time we fought, my team was unfocused. He was our first real challenge, but our synergy has grown, and we planned around using Sunlight. Not knowing this, he's helped my team. We won't waste this opportunity, and I won't fail. Fortress protects, with Claydol likely preparing to Earthquake. Mondali quickly fires Solar Beam to stop it. Wishcash comes out in its place. Unfortunately, Stratuffy's Fire Blast is blocked, but we're maintaining momentum. Mondali fries Wishcash with another Solar Beam. Dakim coldly recalls it before throwing another ball. Entei emerges. This is my second chance. I won't miss it. Stratuffy's second Fire Blast fries Fortress. The harsh light beats down. It helped us easily take the lead, but will also make it easier for Entei to blitz us. We must be quick. Mondali's Chlorophyll lets him outspeed and put Entei to sleep, while Stratuffy unleashes a Dragon Breath for critical damage. It doesn't KO, but fainting is a worry now. Still, to bring Entei back, I know I'll need to gamble to tip the odds in my favor. I toss the first ball, which predictably fails. While it slumbers, Mondali hits with Giga Drain. I follow it with another ball. No dice. It's too risky to attack further, so we use Sleep Powder again, but we're too fast. The powder landing right before Entei wakes, and lands a strong Fire Blast on Mondali. The little fluff shakes off the hit surprisingly well, but won't survive another. I toss again. As Entei breaks free, it's sent to sleep once more. Another ball fails to capture, as does the following. Mondali restores health with Synthesis, so he can probably take another hit. Another ball flies and fails. I need to close this out soon. We won't survive a prolonged battle like Raikou. It escapes the next ball. Finally, Entei wakes and launches another massive Fire Blast at Mondali. Thanks to Synthesis, he endures. I throw the next ball. Somehow, even awake, the ball clicks, signifying a successful capture. At last, the third legendary of the trio has been reclaimed, and my prior failure rectified. I feel a slight relief. Why'd I lose to this punk? In all the time I've been battling, my only losses have come at the hands of Master Nascour and you. Now take this, he says as he hands me a green ID badge. It's your passport to terror and despair. If you're thinking of turning back, now's the time to do it. Go on home to mommy. He laughs as he walks away. 2 more left. We continue through the rooms, and before long we stumble upon Venus.
Oh, well, if it isn't that darling duo, what kept you so long? I'm rather tired of waiting.
She can thank her colleagues for keeping us held up.
Now, say your goodbyes. This time, I really am going to be as serious can be.
Blossom and Wigglytuff start for her, while I have Mondali and Vilocos. Vilocos sets up the sun, but Mondali misses Blossom with Sleep Powder. It uses Attract on Mondali in return. Wigglytuff also targets Mondali with Attract, but he only has eyes for Blossom. Mondali fires a Solar Beam at Wigglytuff for good damage, and Vilocos follows up by incinerating Blossom with a Fire Blast, freeing Mondali from Attraction. Venus replaces it with Raichu, and Wigglytuff hits Mondali with Flamethrower, capitalizing on our own sun. Mondali hangs on and counters with Solar Beam to KO. Misdreavus comes out, and Vilocos uses Earthquake to take out Raichu before it can make a move. Venus follows it up with a Milotic. I imagine that's the Pokemon she chose to replace her Suicune, so it's likely no slouch. But with the sun up, it's at a disadvantage. Yet again, Mondali unleashes Solar Beam, which puts us in a good position to finish Milotic. We've done a good job of capitalizing off the sunlight. Unfortunately, Vilocos misses Misdreavus with Fire Blast, who retaliates with Confuse Ray. Milotic then unleashes a Blizzard, finishing off Mondali. Fortunately, it doesn't freeze Vilocos. I send in Soraya. Vilocos trips over himself, but Soraya lands a Psychic that finishes Milotic, leaving the Misdreavus all alone. It arrogantly taunts Vilocos, despite its poor situation. The sunlight fades, but Vilocos responds to the taunt with a roar and swiftly dispatches the ghost with a mighty Fire Blast. No sun boost needed.
What? I don't want to do this anymore. Venus pouts. Me? Lose again? My pride will not stand for it. Here, take this thing away. For that, I want your silence that this battle never happened, she shouts as she throws the blue ID badge at me. I shall forget that I ever battled with you. Yes, that's what I'll do.
She laughs as she scurries away. Fortunately, that match went a lot smoother than the one with Dakeem, but it's not long before we find Ein.
Well, well, so you have come, hand in hand like a happy couple on an aimless stroll, he says coldly. Why does everyone keep shipping us? Well, let me inform you, this is no picnic. You will never defeat me with such a frivolous mind.
As we prepare to battle, I can't help but feel tense. I hope our training will pay off. We can't afford a repeat of last time. I stare down at his Rhydon and Crobat, and in response, send out Mondali and Vilocos. Rhydon wastes time protecting, allowing Vilocos to freely set up the sun. Mondali attempts to put Crobat to sleep, but the speedy bat dodges and retaliates with Toxic. With the sun up, I decide to go for offense instead of trying to slow our foes down with status. Mondali scorches Rhydon with Solar Beam, and Manectric replaces it. Vilocos likewise dispatches Crobat with a sun-boosted Fire Blast, bringing out Pelipper. This is good momentum. We need to keep this up. Manectric uses Protect, likely planning to rack up poison damage. Pelipper just barely endures a Solar Beam, while Vilocos' Fire Blast gets blocked by Protect. Worse yet, Pelipper uses Rain Dance to override our sun. I can't let this drizzle become a full-blown storm. I make sure Manectric goes down by having Vilocos use Earthquake. Ein replaces it with Starmie, and Pelipper is finished with Giga Drain. Despite our commanding lead, I won't get complacent. Mondali charges Solar Beam, while Vilocos uses Sunny Day again to weaken Starmie's water attacks. Further, if Starmie survives Solar Beam next turn, it won't survive a second. This is checkmate. It pays off as Starmie's Hydro Pump doesn't KO Vilocos, and Solar Beam finishes charging, ending the fight, bringing a relief to the tension I felt. I whisper, "Great job," to our formidable duo.
Gah! He has improved since our last meeting?
He's sharp. Surely he noticed how much training we put in. It was a completely different story from our last encounter.
It is a shame that you oppose us, Brandon. I sense almost a hint of respect in his voice. Here, use this. Go on. Open the final door with it.
He calmly hands me the yellow ID badge, the final one.
What awaits beyond the door? Why, you should see with your own eyes.
Instinctively, I reach to catch him, but Chat's hand on my shoulder holds me back.
We've got more Pokemon to save up ahead. He'll get caught eventually. Leave it to Shirls.
I hate to admit it, but they're right. Ein isn't a threat now with the Shadow Lab out of commission, and if I chase him, I may fall into a trap, or worse, do something I might regret. I take a deep breath and nod. As we leave the room, I get a message from Egan. Unfortunately, the message is so long he got cut off before saying anything of substance, though the end of the message implies he wants to see us. Chat suggests we go in person to check in. I consider just messaging back, but fear it may confuse him further. I doubt Cipher took the opportunity to attack the Relic Stone again, given the fact his message didn't seem urgent. Still, just to be safe, we make a quick trip back to Agate. It also lets our Pokemon have a brief rest after the string of tough battles. After a brief chat with Egan, he entrusts us with a Master Ball, before encouraging us to bring down Cipher.
So, the special feature of my snag machine to duplicate Pokeballs works on every type of ball, including the Master Ball. However, Chat decided it would be too easy if I had that kind of power. I suppose it would ruin my whole redemption arc, so we decided I get one use of the Master Ball. So I won't be tossing it willy-nilly at every shadow we see. We make our way back to the Grand Golden Door and scan the keycards. The locks release and we approach the door, only for a Cipher peon to fall from the ceiling and attack. He has a few bugs that don't put up much of a fight, but I snag his Shadow Heracross before sending him scuttling away. Beyond the door, another platform carries us to a much larger room that appears to be some sort of lobby. Just as we enter, I get another message. I seem to be popular today. It's from Net, and he had amazing news. After analyzing the ROM, he was able to extract a partial list of Shadow Pokemon, and had confirmed 29 Pokemon thus far, but was still working to uncover the rest of them, and said he would keep me updated. He also attached the list. I can't believe he managed to retrieve even a little data. Net's efforts, as well as the Shadow Pokemon we snagged there, made everything we endured in the lab worth it. I recognize most of the Pokemon on the list. They're ones Team Snag'em took. Several I personally condemned to this fate. I reaffirm my resolve to fix this. Although, I think about the ones I didn't personally snag. I guess Cipher sourced Pokemon from other locations. Maybe Cipher members offered their own Pokemon. And, I mean, it makes sense. I never snagged Entei, Suicune, or Raikou. If Snag'em had caught those, I doubt my old boss would have just handed them off, instead of using them himself. How many more of these are out there that I don't know about? I thought we were nearly done since I recognized most of the ones we'd caught so far, but now? I'm not so sure. I put that aside for now. As it stands, I need to focus on what I can do, which is keep fighting Cipher and find what's left on this incomplete list. For now, we can confirm that we're missing 3 Pokemon, Bayleaf, Croconaw, and Metagross, the last of which I didn't snag. Further, I know of at least a few more Shadow Pokemon that I did snag. Hopefully Net will be able to recover the rest of the data, given enough time. We proceed into the lobby and are stopped by a man who congratulates me on being the 1000th guest since opening, before laughing that it was a lie and challenging me. What a shame. I was hoping I'd win something like, I don't know, tickets to an amusement park. Oh well. After taking him out, we face some other nearby trainers. Off to one side is a room filled with slot machines, and more trainers. I begrudgingly rein in my urge to gamble. However, it seems everyone's here either for entertaining battles or to try and achieve fame by participating in them. Maybe this place really is some kind of twisted amusement park. One of the trainers reveals himself to be the red guy I snagged Velocos from back in Fennec, and he wants revenge, but his former Pokemon puts him in his place. Another trainer says he's been hoping to fight me. Sounds like I've been making a name for myself, even among those not directly aligned with Cipher. On the other side is a dining room, but no one here seems to be serving up Shadow Pokemon. After having our fill of these trainers, we proceed towards the elevator, blocked by another bouncer. I prepare to fight, but it turns out to be Silva, who snuck in with a disguise. I'm glad he's doing alright. He warns us that he's heard that Cipher's boss is waiting for both Chat and myself further up the tower, and that he supposedly has the ultimate Shadow Pokemon. He wishes us luck and urges caution before stepping aside.
The elevator ascends, the glass allowing us a magnificent and somewhat terrifying view of the vast desert surrounding us. As a child, I was scared of heights. While I'm not as scared now, I won't lie, it still fills me with unease. At any moment, this elevator could come crashing down with us inside. I suppose that's just the reality of our situation. The elevator comes to a stop, but the unease continues. We step out and find ourselves before a familiar-looking man. Ah, you've reached me. I must say that I am impressed. Brandon and chat, I welcome you to the Realgam Tower. My name is Nascour. Do you remember the time we met in Phoenix City? Of course, his appearance and intimidating presence are hard to forget, and that explains that aura. Of course, the boss, the one who was giving the admin's orders, would be memorable. I did have the feeling that I would one day face you in battle, but I never imagined that you would be the one to seek me out here. Very soon we will be ready to greet your arrival in style. I will go ahead and wait for you. Don't keep me waiting too long, he said coldly before climbing the stairs to yet another elevator and ascending. Chat urged me to chase after him, but knowing that he's willing to wait, I want to take the time to make sure that we're fully prepared. A nearby room has a PC and healing machine, so I take a moment to rest my team and make sure we're ready. Will the head of a criminal organization really face us fair and square, head on? Sure, it sounds like he's sure of his own power, and based on what the admin said, he should be strong enough to back that up. But I need to be prepared for anything. We left the room and climbed the stairs. The elevator he took is gone, but there's another nearby. As we approach, though, we find it too missing. But it's only a moment before we hear it making its descent. The door opens, and with a heavy step appears the last person I wanted to see. Ha 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 ha! Long time no see, eh, Brandon? You're not gonna break my heart and tell me you've forgotten my face, are you now? Of course not. Before I can say a word, Chad interrupts.
That face! It can't be! Team Snag'em? But why here?
Even if you don't want to believe it, you're absolutely right. I'm Gonzap, the boss of Team Snag'em, and don't you forget it. The boss of Team Snag'em. My old boss. Of course I wouldn't forget. Did you ask what I'm doing here?
Yes, isn't this Cipher's headquarters? Team Snag'em shouldn't have anything to do with this.
Well, surprise, surprise. We do have a lot to do with this. We were just thieves before we got hold of the snag machine. That was before he recruited me. And where did we get it? From Cipher. What they wanted was this. Go snag superior grade Pokemon from trainers everywhere.
What? So this is all one big plot hatched by Cipher?
That's what I'm saying. Aren't you the brainy one? Master Nascour's waiting for you upstairs, but you've got me to deal with first. Then he affixed his attention directly on me. We've got a little score to settle here. It's time you paid up for wrecking our hideout and wiping out Team Snag'em. Don't get any ideas about beating me. Ha 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 ha! I agree. We do have a score to settle. We both betrayed each other in a sense. All this time I've been trying to push down what happened, to not think of it. But it never fully left my mind. The person I trusted, who led me down this dark path, who, for better and worse, changed who I was. Here he was once again. I suppose I knew that eventually I'd have to face this head on. After all, once I learned of what was happening to the Pokemon I snagged, that they weren't just being sold off to rich trainers who couldn't get Pokemon themselves, that they were being so mistreated and used as tools, it was the breaking point. It would be foolish to think that I wouldn't eventually have to fight him. I mean, he's probably also been supplied with a Shadow Pokemon, given his own role in all this. Still, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but it's time to face my past. An old... I'm not sure the best word. Friend, I suppose. An old friend who led me astray, who tempted me down this dark path. I'll push him aside and prove that everything I've done since we parted ways wasn't a mistake. The starting matchup is Pinsir and Shiftry versus Mamagma and Volocos. A bug and dark type as his leads, he must have expected me to have Lunocta and Soraya out first. He knows me well, but I've changed, and he hasn't. I start by having Volocos use Flame Wheel on Shiftry for a fast KO. Next up is Hariyama. Pinsir retaliates with an unexpected Earthquake, dealing heavy damage to Volocos and Hariyama while taking out Mamagma. Sirtuffy swaps in. A second Flame Wheel drops Pinsir, bringing out Crawdaunt. Stratuffy flies while Hariyama also uses Earthquake. It hits Crawdaunt hard and finishes the weakened Vilocos. Neither of us has an edge yet. Soraya comes in, and a quick Psychic dispatches Hariyama. Gonzap tosses out his Skarmory next. Chat calls out what I already expected, a Shadow Pokemon. I wonder if Gonzap has figured out why I took the Snag Machine. If not, he's about to see. Stratuffy swoops down, hitting Skarmory, while Crawdaunt hits Soraya with Sludge Bomb. I call for Soraya to protect, while Stratuffy's Dragon Breath finishes Crawdaunt. All that's left is to snag Skarmory, whose Steel Wing hits Protect. Now that Skarmory is all on its own, I swap Soraya for Mondali, while Stratuffy uses Dragon Breath for decent damage. Skarmory retaliates with Steel Wing. We slowly chip it down, applying Sleep Powder as needed. Finally, I charge the Snag Machine and toss a ball. A few shakes, and it's over. Gonzap's Pokemon was snagged. Perhaps this experience will cause him to reflect on what we were doing to other trainers. You've grown a lot better, Brandon. I have mixed feelings hearing that from him. What do you say, Brandon? Why don't you and me team up again? Just like old times. For the briefest of moments, I think maybe he's had a change of heart. You, me, and the Snag Machine. We can do whatever we please. The world will be ours, hey? As a friend, I wish we could just forget the past. But to let him lead me back down that dark path again? Never. I figured you'd say that, but that doesn't matter anymore. There's no going back for you now. Get going. I can't force him to value me. I can't force him to be a better person. He'll have to find that on his own. But I do see a spark in him to one day turn his life around. He's not totally lost like Cipher. And besides, as Chat had reminded me earlier, perhaps it was for the best I briefly joined up with Gonzap. It gave me the chance to get the Snag Machine and set things right. And speaking of, soon I'll have the chance to do just that. I take a deep breath. Chat and I step into the elevator, and it begins to ascend. We rise even higher above the desert, and with it, a feeling of rising doubt. Can we really meet this challenge? At the top of the tower is an enormous Colosseum. I'm not sure how they managed to make it securely stand atop the rest of the structure, but here, at this precarious point, we will finally have to face Cipher's boss. The elevator opens and we step out to a roaring crowd. There must be thousands of people in the stands. Why are they here? As we approach the center of the arena, Nascour's voice comes in over a speaker, booming over the din of the crowd. What kept you, Brandon? I worried that perhaps Gonzap had beaten you. The time has come for you to pay off some debts. We'll have you battle as payment towards the huge losses you inflicted on us. I expect to see spectacular battling out of you. After all, you're here to entertain. As expected, he isn't going to fight me head on. I guess they're making money off people betting on these battles. This will wear my team down, and then Nascour will strike when he thinks we won't be able to fight back. We walked into his trap, though it's not like we had a choice. But perhaps I can turn the trap on him. He's feeling confident he can take us down here and end a lot of trouble for Cipher, so he won't run. If I can lure him into a false sense of security... No time to think further as my first opponent appears. A strong-looking woman steps out of the elevator and our first match starts. She has a few normal types. After defeating Porygon 2 and Zangoose, her Shadow Milk Tank is left alone. I'm surprised she only has 3 Pokemon. Since Nascour wants us to entertain the crowd, maybe he's going for shorter but more explosive battles to keep their attention. While the Miltank threatens with a defense curl and rollout combo, we manage to wear it down and put it to sleep before completing the catch. Our first opponent walks away and is almost instantly replaced by the next trainer, a guy with spiky hair. No time to breathe. He sends out Absol and Mightyena. Chad identifies another shadow missing from the list, Absol. The Mightyena growls intimidatingly, but even scared, I know my team can deal with these small fry. Thinking that since Intimidate reduced Vilocos' attack, Mamagma can take a hit, I forgo protecting with her, having Vilocos Earthquake. But this was a mistake, as it still proves too much. She falls. And with her, the Absol. A horrible miscalculation. How could I be so careless? I watch in horror as the Absol is recalled to its ball. I send out Stratuffy to meet my foe Sharpedo. I have my Pokemon throw out a few weak attacks, but my timing is off, so the attacks keep missing our foe. Knowing that I may have missed my chance to save Absol has taken my heart out of the battle. Will that Pokemon be stuck forever because I messed up here? I can't shake it. Are you okay, Brandon? Chat asks. I know, I need to focus. The stakes are too high. I hear Nascour's voice boom through the arena. What's wrong? You wanted to play the hero, and yet here you are holding back. I know you're throwing. Well, you're here to entertain. You'll fight till you hit your limit, till you break, and then we'll crush you. We're not letting you out of here like that. I hereby declare this battle void. Do it again. Give the people what they want. No holding back. The crowd roars in agreement. With that, the Absol trainer left, while the first returned. Is it another trick to overwhelm me with sheer numbers? If I take too long, they'll heal the previous fighters and send them again until we can't keep going. Wait, if they won't let this end unless I give it my all, if they intend to keep us trapped here, repeating the same fights, that's it. This is my out. I'll make them bring back Absol. I won't fail again. I'm bringing it home, just like all the rest. And once I reclaim it, I'll smash through the rest of the trainers, so fast Nascour won't have any option but to come down and face me himself. This is just like Mount Battle, an endurance test. I know my team has what it takes. I'll turn their own trap back on them. They're locked in here with me, no matter how many tries it takes. The trainer sends out her Pokemon, but this time I use Lunockt and Soraya. I need to make this convincing, so they don't catch on to my plan, and I need to keep the crowd entertained, so changing my Pokemon is a good idea, especially if I need multiple tries. My duo doesn't struggle to take out their foes. Was that good enough? And more importantly, will they bring out the Absol trainer again? Was that enough time for him to heal his team, or will it be someone else? I stand. Tension becomes relief seeing him return. I almost exhale, but I can't let the act slip. I do my best to maintain the facade as our rematch begins. Moment of truth. He sends out Absol. Chat confirms it's the same one. While working to set up the catch, Absol uses Swords Dance and defeats Stratuffy with Shadow Rush. The crowd roars in excitement at the display of a Shadow Pokemon's power. Next, Mondeli's Sleep Powder misses, while Sharpedo uses Earthquake, hitting Absol too, who lands another Shadow Rush on Mondeli. The damage is adding up. Rather than risk another Sleep Powder miss, I gamble on catching Absol right away, tossing a ball. It shakes a few times, but the catch fails. It responds with another Shadow Rush to finish Mondeli. Another ball fails, and it retaliates again, taking down Velocos. This continues a while longer, throwing balls while attempting to draw out the fight. Despite this, both foes are barely holding on. I toss another ball. It was so close, but Absol breaks free and lunges. The crowd cheers, but this time, Absol finally falls. I missed my chance again. It feels awful even though it wasn't my fault, but I can't just start throwing now or they'll figure out what I'm up to. I need to push on. Mightyena falls to Toxic, and I do my best to make it look like this went according to plan, standing confidently. What are you doing, Brandon? Chat hisses as the trainer leaves, replacing him as a Cipher peon. They're not even trying to hide Cipher's involvement anymore. She's a fire specialist, and has a Shadow Houndoom. While I need to throw the match to get another chance at Absol, I also need to rescue Houndoom. Mondeli is too risky to bring in, so I use Mamagma and Lunockt to chip it. After several attempts, we manage to snag it. The Cipher peon sends out her own Magcargo for the mirror match, but I've already got what I want. I begin allowing our attacks to miss again, attempting to draw the battle out and annoy the crowd. Eventually, their cheers turn to boos and calls for me to stop messing around. A small smile creeps over my face as Nascour's voice thunders over the angry crowd. What are you doing? Trying to toy with your opponent for your own satisfaction? You're here to entertain us, not yourself. You had better take this seriously, or there will be consequences. Do it again! The Cipher peon leaves as the first trainer returns. It worked, but I fear Nascour's losing patience. I may not get another chance at this. Soraya and Lunockt once again make quick work of the first trainer, bringing Absol's trainer back. You missed your boyfriend, huh? Chat whispers. What are they talking about? Whatever, I can't afford to lose focus. Again, the Shadow Absol comes out. This time, Mondeli manages to put it to sleep. but its teammate hits it with an Earthquake. I can't allow that, so Mondali uses a sun-charged solar beam to stop Sharpedo. To be safe, we do the same to Mightyena. Now Absol is isolated, and I can focus on it. I charge the snag machine. I can't fail again. 1, 2, 3... Click. Finally, Absol has been reclaimed. Chat mumbles something that sounds like, "Oh, I get it now." They understand what I'm doing now, but that means Nascour might catch on too. I can't have any more mishaps. Following that, the first Cipher Peon returns, and I quickly blow through her Pokemon now that we don't have to worry about snagging her Houndoom. Volocos' Earthquakes easily take down her Fire types. The crowd cheers as she walks away, and a new Cipher Peon appears. I'm the last battle. I'll show you exactly why I was chosen to anchor our squad. This is it. Nascour is almost within reach. Just one trainer stands in our way. As my match with this grass trainer begins, chat informs me of his Shadow Tropius. Despite his boasting, his Pokemon are extremely weak. We ignore the Tropius while taking out its teammates. Both Vileplume and Cradily fall easily. I think we've got Tropius alone, but to my surprise, unlike the preceding trainers, he sends out a fourth Pokemon, Cacturn. Lunoct begins weakening the Tropius, while Mamagma actually outspeeds the Cacturn somehow to one-shot it with Flamethrower. The crowd loses their minds, and even chat cheers. They really love Mamagma. We finally have Tropius isolated. We whittle it down and put it to sleep. I charge up a ball, but it's not enough. A second ball also fails. Come on, I can't lose this chance. The third ball almost works. Again, the shadow escapes. But this time, it wakes up and uses Synthesis, undoing almost all the progress we made against it. All I can do is try again. We put it back to sleep and weaken it again, but this time Lunoct uses Taunt to prevent any further healing with Synthesis. I charge up the snag machine once more, and we've done it. All the fodder trainers Nascour sent against us have been defeated, and their shadows reclaimed. But then, the crowd began to quiet. Bravo, bravo, well done, Nascour commented as he approached at last. Why not become a Cipher show battle trainer? Would you even consider it? I'll vouch that you will become a top star in no time. I wouldn't have minded making that proposition, but I'm afraid I'm not that big-hearted. I will destroy you in battle right now. You will know the humiliation of total domination before this crowd. At last, the time has come for our fated duel. Nascour leads with Gardevoir and Dusclops, while I send out my original partners, Lunoct and Soraya. Everything's riding on this. And if he has the strength to intimidate even Cipher's admins, I need to be prepared for anything. I start off by having Soraya set Reflect. Gardevoir lands a Thunderbolt for good damage on him, and Lunoct uses Toxic on Dusclops, but misses the Spectre. It responds by confusing Soraya. Next, I'm surprised to see him use X specials on both his Pokemon, rendering Soraya's Protect worthless, but Lunoct's second Toxic manages to land. Soraya then attempts a Helping Hand, but can't due to confusion, and Gardevoir lands Taunt on him. Lunoct uses Feint Attack for decent damage on Gardevoir, but a Shadow Ball almost finishes off Soraya. Seeing him in a rough spot and unable to do much, I call him back for Mamagma, but a mighty Thunderbolt takes her out on the switch, giving Nascour the early lead. Volocos takes her place, while Lunoct uses Sunny Day. The already sweltering desert sun intensifies over the Colosseum. Volocos shrugs off a weak Shadow Ball from the Dusclops. A sun-boosted Flame Wheel almost finishes Gardevoir, but comes up short, which invites a Psychic in return, both just barely holding on. Lunoct runs in to assist with Feint Attack, and manages to finally take out Gardevoir. While that technically evens up our score, our team is still worse off. Nascour sends out Blaziken, and Dusclops uses Confuse Ray on Volocos, putting him in a precarious situation. If he fails his attack, he will go down, and leave his teammates vulnerable. Worse, Reflect wears off at this moment too. Still, we need to make some big plays, so I trust in Volocos and have him stay in to use Earthquake. Unfortunately, his attack fails, and he goes down. I decide the best switch here is Stratuffy. I was right as he shrugs off a Sky Uppercut from Blaziken. Lunoct almost fells the Dusclops, who manages to get in one last hit on Stratuffy before going down to Poison, and bringing out Xatu. Stratuffy's Ice Beam hits, and Xatu retaliates with another Confuse Ray. Blaziken turns its attention to Lunoct and uses Sky Uppercut once again. But he's bulky enough to take the hit surprisingly well before finishing Xatu. Nascour recalls it and sends out Walrein. Since Blaziken will likely attack Lunoct, I have Sturtuffi fly. Not only was I right, but the attack misses anyways, leaving Lunoct safe to land another Toxic on Walrein, who unleashes an Ice Beam that misses the airborne Sturtuffi. The effects of Sunny Day dissipate as the light returns to its normal intensity. It's still roasting in the Colosseum. Sturtuffi attempts to land a fly on Blaziken, but tumbles out of the air due to confusion. Lunoct takes another nasty Sky Uppercut, this time just barely holding on. He manages to get off a Toxic on Blaziken, as Walrein finishes off Sturtuffi with an Ice Beam. We regained momentum, but now things are falling apart. Recalling Sturtuffi, I send Soraya back out. I came prepared with some items for the worst case scenario, so I revive Sturtuffi while Soraya uses Protect to stall out some poison damage from the foes. Blaziken takes the opportunity to finish Lunoct, and I send in Mondali. Luckily, Walrein tries to Ice Beam Soraya instead, allowing him to come in safely. Mondali starts charging Solar Beam while reviving Lunoct. Unfortunately, this leaves Soraya open to get hit with a Blaze Kick that finishes him off. Sturtuffi comes out as Mondali gets taken out by an Ice Beam before he could finish charging. This is a terrible situation. Only Lunoct and Sturtuffi are left. I send out Lunoct and revive Velocos. Sturtuffi flies while a Sky Uppercut from Blaziken almost takes out Lunoct again. Walrein's Ice Beam also misses as poison continues to weaken our foes. Next, I revive Mondali while Sturtuffi barrels out of the sky to finally take down Blaziken. As he recalls it, a devious smile graces Nascour's face. He throws his next Pokeball, and from it emerges a Metagross. Chat confirms it's a Shadow Pokemon, the one from the list. Ein mentioned making an ultimate Shadow Pokemon for his boss. Could this be it? A Shadow Pokemon stronger even than the legendary beasts? No time to think. Walrein's Ice Beam takes out Sturtuffi once more. Mondali comes out. Just as I think about how a single Ice Beam will take it out, the Walrein groans and collapses, Toxic finally finishing it off. Perfect timing. I heal my Magma. My revives are running out, but now Nascour's Metagross is his last remaining Pokemon. By any means necessary, even using underhanded tactics like healing, we have to stop them and save it. Mondali puts the Shadow to sleep. It slumbers while I power on the Snag Machine. I know it won't work, but I need to try. I toss an Ultra Ball, and predictably, it fails. I revive Sturtuffi, and Metagross wakes up, using Iron Defense. This is good. Not attacking gives me time to regroup. Lunoct hits with Feint Attack, but it shrugs off the hit. Mondali attempts to cover him, but misses the Sleep Powder. This draws its attention, and it retaliates with a Shadow Rush that leaves our Fluff Ball just barely holding on. Lunoct lands another hit for modest damage. I revive Soraya, and Mondali manages to land Powder, putting it back to sleep. While it slumbers, I heal Mondali, and land another attack. Slowly, we're wearing down this behemoth. With our team stabilized, I try another snag. The machine whirs. My eyes widen as the ball clicks. We did it! Somehow, we managed to struggle back from the brink and reclaim Metagross. Fists clenched, Nascour stares at the ground. No! This can't be happening! Ah! It's not over, Brandon. Come on, we shall battle. Enough! Don't embarrass yourself, Nascour. Sir, I beg your pardon, Nascour says weakly as he slumps over. What's going on? Chad asks. Nascour's apologizing? Isn't he supposed to be the boss? The elevator behind Nascour raises up and opens. A figure steps forward. Someone familiar. Escade, the mayor of Phoenix City. My, that certainly was a battle worth seeing. I must be honest with you, I never imagined that you would get this far. Huh? Mr. Mayor, why are you here? Oh dear me, do you fail to understand still? You're such an innocent child. At times, I am the affable mayor of Fennec, and at others, I am the secret boss of the criminal syndicate Cipher. I am Evis, and I shall rule the world. How dare you meddle in our affairs so thoroughly? The Shadow Pokemon plan we can resurrect from the start, but you two, you'll never be forgiven. I'll destroy you utterly, so you may never again rise against me. This is it, for real. The final fight, with the true head of Cipher, Evis. He sends out Slowking and Salamence, while Soraya and Lunoct take to my side of the field. Rather than immediately going on the offensive, Evis opts to use X attacks on both Pokemon, wasting Soraya's Protect, but letting Lunoct taunt Slowking. Next, I swap Soraya for Stratuffy, who comes in on a strong double edge from Salamence. Lunoct misses Toxic, while Slowking follows up Salamence's attack with a Shadow Ball that almost finishes Stratuffy. We target Salamence with Ice Beam, but it swiftly finishes Stratuffy with Dragon Claw first. Mondali comes in to try putting it to sleep. This mighty dragon is our first hurdle. Lunoct manages to land Toxic on Slowking, who hits Mondali with Psychic. However, my plan falls apart when Mondali misses Sleep Powder, allowing the dragon to KO with Aerial Ace. We're losing momentum fast. I send in Mamagma while Lunoct sets Sunny Day. Slowking nails Mamagma with another Psychic. The sweltering heat that fills the Colosseum is oppressive. How can we get out of this? Salamence hits with Double Edge, almost downing Lunoct in a single blow. He in turn uses Feint Attack on Slowking. Mamagma lands a Rock Slide on both foes, but isn't enough to fell the monstrous Salamence. Slowking lands a Water Pulse that KOs Mamagma despite the intense sun. Volocos takes the field, but things look bleak. Did we really come so far just to stumble at the very end? Was it all for nothing? I almost resigned myself to losing here. This is it. Cipher wins. No one can stop them. The Pokemon we rescued, my beloved partners, all turned into Shadow Pokemon. Chat and myself, we wouldn't be getting out of this in one piece. But then, staring at my Pokemon, they know this situation is bad, but they're still standing defiant. How can I give up when they still have faith? I'm their trainer. I need to lead. I need to believe in them. Maybe this was the final lock on my own heart. We can't go down without giving this all we've got. Teeth clenched, I call out for Volocos to use Fire Blast. Volocos, who had opened his heart to me, looked at his fallen teammates and let out a mighty roar. Just like in Ein's lab, he isn't going to let us fall here. A massive burst of flame erupts, hitting Salamence, finishing off the dragon in defiance. It collapses with a mighty thud that reverberates throughout the arena. But that's just the start. Evis calls it back and sends out Machamp. Wasting no time, Lunoct follows up with a Feint Attack to bring the Slowking to its knees before it gets hit with a point-blank Water Pulse, taking him out. But Lunoct isn't going down alone. Toxic makes it a double knockout. Soraya swaps in, while Evis sends in Slacking. Volocos isn't done yet. He launches another sun-boosted Fire Blast at Slacking, which it just barely endures, while Soraya swiftly dispatches Machamp. This brings in Scizor. I brace myself for Slacking's brutal hit. It instead decides to loaf, ignoring Evis's order to attack. I'm not sure why, but it gives us an opening. Then, another fell. Volocos' Flame Wheel easily ends Scizor in a single hit. Volocos, landing hit after hit, chipped at Evis's team. He evened the odds. Then, he tipped the scale in our favor. Despite all logic saying our battle was doomed to fail, he had rallied a victory charge, a shimmering ray of light that led our brigade back from the brink of defeat and illuminated a path to victory. It was a miracle. The sheer determination on display here was awe-inspiring. Before I could process it, Evis was the one with his back against the wall. He was the one forced to play his hand. He laid down his trump card.
It's a Shadow Pokemon!
Chad exclaimed. We had assumed Metagross was the strongest Shadow, but given Evis's role as the true leader, it must actually be this. The fabled ultimate Shadow Pokemon, Tyranitar. As the beast roared onto the battlefield, a wicked sandstorm kicked up. Acting quickly, Soraya finishes Slacking, leaving the mighty Kaiju alone on Evis's side of the field. We're surely no match for this beast alone, but seeing how hard everyone had fought to bring us here, I know I can't give in. And besides, we're not alone. Not anymore. All together now. Soraya uses Protect while Volocos launches a solid Earthquake. It doesn't fell Tyranitar, but it has certainly shaken it. It retaliates with a Rock Slide. I need time, and trust my team to buy us some. Volocos holds off Tyranitar with Flame Wheel, while I revive Mondali. It launches a Rock Slide that misses Soraya, but hit Volocos. He struggles to stand, but finally allows himself to collapse, knowing that we won't allow Cipher's plot to continue. He entrusted the future to us. I call him back. Thank you. You did more than enough. I send Mondali into the fierce sandstorm whirling around the tower. He uses sleep powder to buy us some time, while I begin stabilizing our position. First, I heal Lunoct. Next, I begin throwing Ultra Balls, while Mondali uses Synthesis. I repeat this, to no avail. I heal Stratuffy and prepare the snag machine. A single shake before the beast breaks free, and this time it wakes. It launches a blizzard that does strong damage first to Soraya, who leapt in front of Mondali, tanking the brunt of the attack, getting frozen. The frigid blast then hit Mondali, who surprisingly survived. The raging sandstorm buffets them both. And refusing to go down, Mondali endures even this. I use a potion on Mondali, who then leaps at Tyranitar, blanketing it in powder. I call back the frozen Soraya and send in Lunoct once more, also healing him. Next, I revive Velocos, while Lunoct uses Sunny Day to clear the sandstorm. The raging desert sands begin to calm, and a bright, shining light returns. This will be the new light shining on Orre, casting out the shadows, just as soon as we finish Evis. Mamagma gets revived next, while Lunoct hits with Feint Attack. Unfortunately, this wakes it, and in retaliation, it launches another blizzard, hitting Lunoct, but missing Mondali. With everyone ready again, it's just a matter of catching this beast. It hits hard, and shrugs off hits like we're no more significant than the grains of sand it had set swirling on the battlefield. Yet, it's still clearly suffering. Becoming a shadow Pokemon hasn't made it stronger. Its own attacks drain its health more than we ever could. It needs to be saved from itself. Mondali once more tries to soothe the beast with sleep powder, buying us time. Lunoct continues softening it. I chuck a ball. No luck. Another. Still nothing. This is, of course, the ultimate shadow Pokemon, the culmination of Cipher's research. It's no surprise it's resistant to anyone's attempts to steal away their so-called ultimate weapon. Another ball fails, and our foe wakes, unleashing another blizzard for significant damage to both Lunoct and Mondali, even freezing the latter. This is terrible. We need his powder. Thinking fast, I use a full restore on him. However, perhaps still numb from the frigid attack, Mondali's powder misses, allowing another blizzard to come our way. Fortunately, it misses the injured Lunoct, but once again puts Mondali on the brink. Mustering up his strength, Mondali lands sleep powder while Lunoct attacks. So, since this is going nowhere fast, now's the time for the Master Ball. Right? Well, there's no guarantee that the Master Ball won't be needed for another threat later. I mean, we thought Metagross was the ultimate shadow Pokemon, only to be surprised by Tyranitar. What if Cipher has another trick up their sleeve? We don't have the full shadow Pokemon list, so working off our limited info, I make the hard decision to keep trying without it. Like a stubborn child, I keep throwing ball after ball after ball, reapplying sleep while Tyranitar chips itself down. Finally, I throw one last ball, and my heart sinks as the ball snaps, and Tyranitar once more emerges. It barrels into Mondali with a fierce Shadow Rush, leaving both barely standing. But that's fine. I can just put it back to sleep. Like Icarus, I flew too close to the sun. And while this fallen angel's wings aren't made of wax, I still got burned all the same. The Tyranitar lands one final Shadow Rush. The crowd is stunned. Evis, Chat, and even I myself. We're all stunned. Tyranitar falls with a colossal thud, officially making me the victor, but allowing Evis to call Tyranitar back to the safety of its ball. A bittersweet victory. Finally realizing what had happened, Evis screams, "No! Even my ultimate Pokemon!" He stands in disbelief as officers swarm the area. "Halt!" Shirls shouted. "Stop where you are! There's no getting away this time!" They were then joined by Duking and Silva. "Cipher's finished! The Shadow Pokemon plan ends now!" "Chat, are you alright?" Even Egan arrives to help. "Blast you! Don't you forget what you've done, Brandon! It won't end this way next time! I will ruin you the next time, I promise you that!" Then we hear a loud whir.
No! He's trying to escape with that helicopter!
Let us meet again! Our bid to take over the world using Shadow Pokemon hasn't ended yet! But out of nowhere, a burst of fire rocketed towards the helicopter, Engulfed in flame, it tumbles out of the sky in a spectacular explosion.
Your plan? I think it just ended.
Evis, you and your cronies are under arrest, Shirls reaffirmed as the officers moved in to grab them.
Oh, what is that?
Chat asked, gazing to the sky once more as a shining bird flew overhead. The rainbow. It led me here, and now it stepped in to help. It's a legendary Pokémon. It's a Ho-Oh, Duking explained.
It is. It really is a Ho-Oh. It's incredible.
It must have been keeping an eye on your heroics from the sky above. You obviously earned its support. Of course, it would never allow criminals to get off scot-free, not when they're guilty of an outrage like creating shadow Pokémon.
Oh wow. So Ho-Oh was watching over us. Brandon, I guess it's finally over. We faced a lot of challenges, but thanks to you, Brandon, everything has been resolved. Brandon, thank you. You were strong, you answered the call, and you were cool. I try to remind chat that it's not over yet. There's still shadow Pokemon out there, but I catch myself. For just this one brief moment, I decide to let everyone enjoy the victory. Look at that! Ho-Oh is so close! So true. This is the first time I've seen one up so close. Chat, and Brandon, the Ho-Oh is blessing you for your victory. Such a perfect outcome. Yes, indeed. We watch as the legendary rainbow bird soars off. But somehow, I know we'll meet again. The officers lead Evis and Nascour away. I approach Shirls, but before I can say anything, he interrupts me. You're gonna try and turn yourself in. I know. There's no need. After all, you're the hero of Orre, and helped resolve all this. It'd be bad publicity to arrest you after all you've done. And besides, you're still looking for the shadow Pokemon, right? Think of that as community service. Community service? Why, Chief, I don't know what you're talking about. Our friend here was just passing through and couldn't turn a blind eye to injustice. That's just the kind of guy he is. A man of upstanding character who's more than proven himself deserving of our trust. Then, slightly quieter, to Shirls more than to myself. And I mean, when Snagham's base was searched, you never found a registry of the people there, right? So it's not like there's any proof he was ever with them, yeah? And no one from Snagham was ever apprehended, so who's to say otherwise? He gives me a sly wink. So, what do you say, friend? Can we request a little more help with cleaning up Cipher's mess? It seems that my desire for redemption has been recognized in the most unlikely way. Still, while I'm glad to have their blessing, the more important thing is that my work, and thus my redemption, still isn't over. There's still more to this mess to clean up. But I'm glad that they're fine with letting me do so. As they turn to leave, in my heart, I thank them for this gift of a second chance. I think to myself that our past choices influence us, but don't define us. What matters is the intent to try our best. That is what makes us worthy of redemption. Not that we'll be perfect, but that when we mess up, we try again. A few days later, Chat and I are enjoying a meal at the dusty outskirt stand. We've been riding around, following leads in search of the remaining shadow Pokemon, but no luck so far. Just as we're paying our bill and getting ready to head out, I get a message from Net saying he's set up a new system to automatically send over info about shadow Pokemon to us. That's great news, and just as we step outside, another message, this time from Sek. He says he's got a lead for us, so we depart. We begin to cross the desert back to Pyrite, but first we stop over at Phoenix City's Pokemon Center. Now that we've quelled some of the unrest in Orre, and I'm no longer on the run, I can actually call over some of my old Pokemon from Hoenn. No, I'm not a Hoenn native, by the way, but I have some old Pokemon over there. While I don't want to sweep the remaining trainers without any effort, and thus invalidating my redemption, we will want some backup for later. I go ahead and trade over a few high-level Pokemon, a Salamence and a Dragonite, but we'll box them for now. They're a surprise tool that will help us later. And by the way, we'll bring back the Pokemon we traded over later. They're just on a little vacation. As we're leaving Fennec, we get an urgent call to head back to Realgam Tower. I guess a powerful organization like Cipher even had people infiltrating the police,
and they just managed to break Nascour and Evis out. Overconfident in the power of his ultimate shadow Pokemon, Evis immediately went to Realgam, looking to use it as a base to rebuild Cipher. So I once more ascend the tower. They're shocked to see us again so soon, and once more attempt to defeat me. I battled through the gauntlet of trainers again. Now deprived of their shadow Pokemon, their teams quickly fall away. Evis's right-hand man Nascour, while still a strong foe, can't stop us. He took out some of my Pokemon, but with his team deprived of its anchor, he's no match for us, even with his new Alakazam. He's nowhere near as intimidating as he once was, a shell of his former self, and then we fight Evis once more. He leads with Scizor and Slowking, while I have Velocos and Soraya. I immediately swap Soraya for Lunoct, and his Scizor falls to Velocos' Flame Wheel, bringing out Machamp. His Slowking hits Velocos with a strong Water Pulse. He fires off a Fire Blast at Machamp, attempting to cover Lunoct. While it wasn't enough to take it out in one shot, it left Machamp with a nasty burn. Just in case Machamp takes out Lunoct, I have him taunt Slowking. Machamp instead opts to Earthquake, dealing a strong blow to both my Pokemon and his. And I send out Soraya, who tanks a Water Pulse. Acting quickly, Soraya finishes Machamp with Psychic to bring in the mighty Salamence. Lunoct's Feint Attack hits Slowking, who just barely endured the hit, and retaliates with a nasty Shadow Ball that almost takes out Soraya. I swap Soraya for Stratuffy, while Evis buffs his team with X attacks. This at least leaves Lunoct a chance to finish Slowking. Salamence will still be an issue, but my team is in much better shape than last time. He sends out Slacking, and Salamence lets loose a mighty Dragon Claw that almost takes out Stratuffy, while Lunoct tanks a Crush Claw. With all his might, Stratuffy fires an Ice Beam that fortunately takes out Salamence before it can cause any more problems. At last, the time has come to truly purge the shadow thread of Cipher from Orre. He once more sends out Tyranitar, the Sandstream whipping across the battlefield. Lunoct lands Toxic on Slacking, but Evis immediately heals it. Stratuffy fires a Dragon Breath for a meager amount of damage on the Tyranitar, but paralyzes it. Before it can get out of hand, Lunoct uses Sunny Day to clear the Sandstorm. Evis won't be able to withstand the ray of light my team is shining down. Paralysis grips Tyranitar, preventing it from moving. Slacking lands another Crush Claw to finish Lunoct, bringing Soraya back in, while Stratuffy shoots a sun-boosted Fire Blast. Slacking shrugs off the hit, and Tyranitar finishes Stratuffy with Shadow Rush. I call him back and send out Mamagma. Soraya lands Psychic on Slacking while it lows, and Tyranitar rushes him down for another KO. Mondeli's next. Using the sunlight, he fires Solar Beam to finish Slacking. Mamagma follows up with a powerful Rock Slide, while Tyranitar stands paralyzed. Now it's alone. Once more resolved for a long fight, I decide not to push my luck in weakening it further. I can't afford another mistake like last time. I power on the Snag Machine. I toss the first ball, and we take those? Perhaps seeing how hard our team fought to save it loosened the lock on Tyranitar's heart, just enough to allow it to momentarily defy its cruel trainer and remain in the ball. Now, finally disarmed, Evis is forced to watch in horror as Duking and Shirls arrive on the scene to personally lead them all away, making sure this won't happen again. With that potential crisis averted, we continue our trip to Pyrite and meet up with Sek. There, he informs us that Kale recently fought a creepy trainer using a weird Pokemon. We head over to follow up on the lead. There, Kale says that he remembers battling a shadow Pokemon, but wants a battle before he'll talk. He's clearly been training since our initial battle, when we first came to Pyrite. His team is much stronger now, even taking out some of my Pokemon, but eventually we take the win. Kale tells us that the trainer used a Croconaw, one of the missing Pokemon from the list. Kale couldn't remember the trainer's name, but they mentioned something about the Team Snag'em hideout. So, we prepared to head back to where this story began. But first, knowing that we had abandoned working on purifying shadow Pokemon in favor of having a stronger main team, I decide to start working towards purifying some shadows. After all, these grunts won't be as strong as Cypher's admins, so we can afford to have a little bit of a handicap. We cross the desert, back to the hidden canyon. It's weird to be back here again, but this time, I won't be running. Even if I have to fight through all of Team Snag'em and the remains of Cipher, there's no way I'll let them stop us from rescuing every last shadow Pokemon. We approach the ruined structure, rubble strewn everywhere, and entering, we see the interior is in an even worse state. My own handiwork, of course. As we enter, I get another message from Sek, saying Kale had remembered the name of the trainer with the Croconaw, Apparently his name was Bluno. It's shortly followed by a message from Net, who updates the shadow list, but the only new addition we haven't already snagged is Smeargle. Not much, but still helpful. Wandering around, we encounter a mix of Cipher and Snag'em grunts who aren't too pleased to see me, given the still wrecked state of their hideouts and organizations. They're all grunts for a reason though and present no real issue. Sweeping them aside, we find the Cipher peon in a blue suit, from all the way back in Phoenix City. I'd wager a Comet Shard that's Bluno, and sure enough, he introduces himself and even remembers me. Aw, I'm flattered. He sends out his Shadow Croconaw, which I snag back with a single ball, before dispatching the rest of his team. He warns that while we snagged it, there's still more shadows out there, a fact I'm all too familiar with. But surely we're getting close, right? Almost as if on cue, Net updates the list, adding Ursaring. So now the known missing Pokemon are Ursaring, Smeargle, and Bayleaf. I scour the rest of the base, but don't find anything else of note. Even Gonzap is nowhere to be found. His old office is deserted. With nothing else of interest, we return to Pyrite, and on the way, we get our next lead, that people in the Under have been seeing shadow Pokemon, and to check in with Net. I guess he's too busy analyzing the list to message me, so we pay him a visit in person. He informs us of a guy named Gurks near the junk shop, who saw a shadow recently. Similar to Kale, he requests a battle before he'll share the info, but his pair of Wailord put up much less of a fight. He tells us that a guy in a flashy green outfit named Verde was seen with the missing Shadow Bayleaf, but didn't have any more info than that. We thank him regardless. Shortly thereafter, Duking's daughter Marcia messages us that someone reported a Cipher grunt heading in the direction of the Shadow Pokémon Lab. Not wanting to miss our chance, we head in, and sure enough, it doesn't take long to encounter more peons. We deal with them as we make our way through the lab. Eventually, where we first encountered Ein, we finally find Verde. He's grumbling in frustration, attempting to restore data on the shadowification process that Ein wiped from the database. These grunts want to resume production of the shadow Pokemon, but need the data to do it. It's probably a good thing we took the data ROM. Snagging his Shadow Bayleaf is no problem, taking only 2 balls, but his other Pokemon put up a bit more of a fight. Eventually we take them down and send him running. Soon after leaving the lab, Bit messages us a rumor that Snag'em has managed to fix up a larger version of the snag machine and requests we investigate. While not directly related to the Shadow Pokemon search, making sure that no more Pokemon can be snagged is also important. So, after a brief rest, we head out once more. Back at Snag'em's HQ, just before entering, I receive word from Bit that Snag'em also dug up some Shadow Pokemon they were intending to use to start their operations up again, a creepy Smeargle and Ursaring. Sounds like the 2 missing Pokemon from the list. I have to say, I'm really thankful to have the support of so many people. I don't know if I'd have been able to track down so many of the Pokemon on my own. I guess this is the power of cooperation. No sooner do I finish that thought than I get another message, this time an update from Net, with more missing Pokemon. We already snagged all of them except the newly discovered Shuckle. We once more enter the hideout in search of the Shadow Smeargle and Ursaring, as well as the new snag machine. However, during our search, we come face to face with Gonzap once more. Pretty brazen for a traitor to come stumbling back, eh, Brandon? I got careless back at Realgam Tower, but this is the Snag'em hideout. We might be shattered, but this is my home turf. This is where I make my stand. I can't lose. He challenges me to another battle, leading with Breloom and Machamp, while I send out Soraya and Metagross. He starts by using X attacks on both his Pokemon, while Soraya used Psychic to take down Machamp and bring out Granbull. Soraya takes out Breloom before going down to Granbull's Shadow Ball. Gonzap isn't holding back this time. We go back and forth, but he seems conflicted. Perhaps he still cares about me as a former member of the team, and can't bring himself to actually hurt me. It seems this battle with him was undoing the locks on his heart, much like the Shadow Pokemon. I think he just needs to feel like he'd proven that his team will be fine without me, and the snag machine. So, I allow him to vent his frustrations, prove that he's still fit to lead, and let him stand victorious. After he wins, he doesn't gloat. He simply shakes his head, places something on his desk, and walks away without a word. We find it's another disc for the Under's UFO. It seems that Gonzap recognizes that we're both taking different paths, and this is his way of supporting me on mine, even if he can't give up on his own. I hope one day he'll come around and realize his mistake. If he ever does, I'll reach out my hand. We all deserve a second chance, after all. But for now, we need to find those shadow Pokemon and the snag machine. If this was his way of helping me, then I guess breaking the machine will be my way of trying to set him down the right path, to help him in turn. We scour the hideout and eventually find a large machine being guarded by a few Snag'em grunts. That must be it. I approach and one of the grunts intercepts me, correctly assuming I'm here to wreck their snag machine. He has a team of Smeargle, and one of them turns out to be the shadow one we're looking for. I think he just might have a favorite Pokemon. I snag the shadow and dismiss the rest of his art class. The second grunt then challenged me, calling me gullible for believing a group like Snag'em would even be capable of repairing a snag machine. He reveals it was all a plan by Gonzap to lure me back here. The shadow Pokemon too were just bait in the trap to make the ruse more believable. It didn't take long to deal with the first few Pokemon, bringing in Ursaring, which chat confirmed to be the shadow from the list. I quickly snag it as well. After the battle, I checked the machine and found it really was just a random machine that didn't even function. It may have been a trap, but we still rescued 2 shadow Pokemon on this trip, and gained the disc from Gonzap, making it worthwhile in the end. With the base cleared out, we must return to the Under. On our way to the terminal, Bit contacts us, simply talking about how he saw a guy singing about visiting the Colosseum with an attached photo. When I opened it, what greeted me was the sight of Mirbee's unmistakable afro. Either that or that one cosplayer bought a wig. What was interesting about the photo, though, was the UFOs seemed to be descending. Looking at the disc we obtained from Gonzap, it's labeled D. Could this mean downward? Is there a place even below the Under? Somewhere deeper? Well, the easiest way to confirm this is to just check, so we approach the terminal and insert the D disc. The terminal announces that it's set for travel in the downward direction. Just what could await us in the depths? We board the UFO and it begins its descent, allowing us to be swallowed by the darkness. Eventually, the darkness gives way to faint light. The surroundings still murky, we stumble through to an enormous door, which slowly opens with a mighty rumble. We step forward into a lobby? Of all the things that could have been down here, I wasn't expecting this. For being in the bottom of a cave, it's surprisingly nice, relatively speaking. Not a fan of the dirt pile. Nearby, a man recognizes me and warns that Cipher's admins are filing their fangs for me. So this is where they all slipped off to. While Cipher's grunts tried to mobilize on the ground, the admins were lying in wait in the darkness for their chance at revenge. While I don't actually have any reason to indulge them, there is the matter of the missing Shadow Shuckle. There's no guarantee, but we've covered most of Orre already. It's possible that someone in this forgotten corner of the region has it, so I might as well take a look. Chat and I discuss this and agree to enter the Colosseum. I prep my party so as to best deal with the upcoming Cipher admins, register at the desk, and then am quickly ushered into the arena. Surprisingly, the first trainer isn't one of the admins. In fact, the first 3 battles of the round are basically free. However, for the finale, I find Mirabee ready for an encore. I don't expect much from him, but he's stepping up the difficulty. His Rain was already a strong match for my Sun team, but with Rain Dish, Leech Seed, and Dive, he's able to wall us quite well. Eventually, Lunoct's Toxic combined with Stratouffi's Ice Beams take out his 3 Ludicolo. His remaining Exploud and Armaldo were easier to deal with. He finally went down, but not without taking out several of my Pokemon. An admittedly impressive showing. If he took all his battles that seriously, he might even be a force on par with Nascour. We completed the Colosseum, but had seen neither the other admins nor the Shadow Shuckle. I was considering this a waste of time, but got a message from Net, detailing rumors of a strong trainer dubbed the Deep King in the Deep Colosseum. We hadn't seen him, but we might find him by continuing to challenge the Colosseum. With no other leads, I reluctantly entered the arena again. Besides, if I can flush the admins out, Shirls might be able to finally apprehend them. While I'd like to see them all caught, Ein, as the one responsible for the Shadow Pokemon, is most certainly too dangerous to leave running around if we can help it. After all, as we saw with Verde, there are those who would seek to revive the project. Just as before, the first 3 rounds are uneventful. Despite less favorable matchups, they still aren't tough. But in the final round, also as before, my foe is an admin. This time, Dakeem is out for revenge. In our previous encounters, we struggled against him, partly because of his field-clearing Earthquake strats, but also due to needing to catch Entei. Without that added pressure this time around, it's a much easier fight. His Pokemon still threaten with strong hits, but smart switches early on for favorable matchups help a ton. We breezed through his team much faster this time, without losing a single Pokemon. With Dakim's attempt at revenge thwarted and our second run of the Colosseum completed, we returned to the lobby. There, I check my messages to see another from Net, this time about the Deep King. Apparently he's been looking into him because he's an expert trainer and he's curious about his Pokemon. But honestly, he's starting to sound like a Deep King fanboy. Well, I guess if he's this curious, I can try and find out more. I kind of owe him for all the hard work he's been doing on the Shadow Pokemon list after all. So, with this new goal, I sign up for the next challenge. Our final foe is Venus. Unlike the other admins, she actually seems surprised to see me. Like Mirror B, she's serious now, though I'm not sure if it's a desire for revenge or just trying to deter us from apprehending her. Her team's all in on her obnoxious strategy of stalling with Attract and Confusion, and using the opportunities created by my switches to get free attacks. She also has Leech Seed and Thunder Wave for paralysis. All this leads to a prolonged fight that, while not difficult, drags on frustratingly. Once she's down to her final Pokemon, Lunoct shuts down her strategy with Taunt, taking the win. After that grueling battle, I knew we still had to face Ein and search for the Deep King. Speaking of, another message from Net awaited us. According to his intel, the Deep King apparently uses Shadow Shuckle, the last Pokemon missing from the list. Well, that settles it. Whether I want to or not, we need to brave the Colosseum again and again until we can find this mysterious Deep King. With a sigh, I register for the next challenge. Before long, I'm at the end of my 4th run, bringing me face to face with Ein. Just as expected, as the one responsible for creating the Shadow Pokemon, it's no surprise that he has the biggest grudge against me, thus going all out here. Worse yet, his reign still naturally counters my Sun strategy. I end up conceding the Weather War and instead focus on getting damage out, while his bulky Mantine continuously soaks hits from Sturtuffi, countering by chipping us with Toxic. His Manectric zaps us with perfectly accurate Thunders. He takes an early lead. Eventually, though, we manage to wear down Mantine. That helps a lot, but we still go back and forth a while. After a grueling battle that left both sides in shambles, we finally claim victory. After all that, the admins escaped, but hopefully I at least scared them into running far, far away. All that's left is the Deep King and Shadow Shuckle. After a brief rest, a message from Net says that the King is entered in the next round of Colosseum matches. Knowing we can't afford to miss this chance, we rush over to enter again. We fight our way through the first 3 rounds without encountering the Deep King. In the final round, though, we had finally earned an audience with His Majesty. His first Pokemon are Sableye and Shedinja. Fortunately, my leads are Velocos and Sturtuffi. A flamethrower from Velocos takes out Shedinja, bypassing Wonder Guard. This brings in Kingdra, while Sturtuffi hits Sableye with Dragon Breath for decent damage and paralysis. It retaliates by confusing Velocos. He attempts to attack, but trips. Sturtuffi hits Kingdra with Dragon Breath, but it's not enough, letting it Hydro Pump Velocos. I recall the soggy Typhlosion, sending Mondolai to get hit by Shadow Ball. A combo attack drops Kingdra, bringing in Skarmory, while Sableye confuses Mondolai. Fed up with all the confusion today, I swap Mondolai with Mamagma, while Sturtuffi launches a Fire Blast that Skarmory just barely tanks. It misses Mamagma with Steel Wing, but Sableye's Shadow Ball hits. Just then, Skarmory goes down to a burn it sustained from the Fire Blast. The King recalls Skarmory, sending out Girafarig. Mamagma protects herself to bait an attack, while Sturtuffi hits Girafarig. As expected, Girafarig's Psychic was protected, however, the Sableye confuses Sturtuffi. Mamagma swaps with Lunoct, while Sturtuffi lands another Dragon Breath on Girafarig. I have both of my Pokemon double up on it. A Dragon Breath and Feint Attack were both aimed at it. Sturtuffi fires his attack first, and it's enough to get the KO. This brings out the Shuckle at last. Chat calls out, announcing it as a Shadow Pokemon, the final one on the list. Feint Attack hits it as it comes in. A few final hits finish Sableye, leaving Shuckle solo. Lunoct lands another hit on it, and all the while it had been using Shadow Rush, leaving it relatively well worn down. Seeing my chance, I charge the Snag Machine. I throw a ball. We've done it! The Deep King acknowledges my skill, and we return to the lobby. I'm glad it ended up being a worthwhile endeavor. I had my doubts at the beginning, but we sent the Cipher admin scrambling, and even earned a good chunk of prize money. Not a bad bonus. But the real prize is the Shadow Shuckle, the last Pokemon on the recovered list. And yet, something isn't right. Something feels off. Well, for now, we're out of leads, so putting my feelings of doubt aside, it's time to deal with the task at hand. On our way out of the Under, I stopped by Nets to share what we learned about the Deep King to satisfy his curiosity, and then we set out for Agate Village. After so long in the dingy cave, it's nice to be in the fresh air once more. Although, I can't wait to get out of the desert heat and return to the gentle breeze of Agate. As we ride, I take stock of the current situation. Cipher is defeated, the 2 masterminds in custody, and the grunts and admins scattered to who knows where. Snag'em 2 is no longer a threat, at least for the time being. That leaves the Shadow Pokemon. We finally recovered them all, but most of them still have locks on the doors of their hearts. Once we had established our team, I'd stopped rotating Shadows in due to how much they held us back in battle, but now, we really needed to focus on opening the doors of their hearts, on helping them recover from everything they endured. We finally arrive in Agate and rest for the night with Chat's grandparents. The next morning, we discuss how best to purify so many Shadow Pokemon. Since Shadow Pokemon are genuinely terrible, like seriously, how are they planning to take over the world with Pokemon this bad? They literally can't gain experience and grow any stronger, and most of the Pokemon they picked for this aren't exactly on the same level as Tyranitar, Metagross, or the legendary beasts. Thank Evis! Since they're so terrible, battling isn't really the best way to purify them, especially with about 40 Pokemon needed to purify. This will take forever. Our next option, we had heard that colognes sold in the village's shops could be used to massage Pokemon, which would make them more friendly. Chat's grandmother Bella suggested this might also aid in purification. To test this, I buy a few and use them on Shuckle. While it did indeed seem to be working, and at a reasonable rate, the sheer volume of colognes we would need versus the available funds rendered this an impractical option, even with our Colosseum winnings. Instead, we ultimately settle on a cost-effective option that wouldn't be as frustrating as babysitting dozens of disobedient Pokemon on Mount Battle and risking them going wild, attacking the other trainers there. The most natural method is, of course, to just spend time with the Pokemon by walking. While this will take a lot of time, it's also technically easy. Maybe not as much as the colognes, but it's also free, putting it right in between the extreme effort of battling and the cost of colognes. So, Chat and I get to walking. A lot. So much walking. Maybe Chat and I can run a Pokemon walking service after all this is over. Anyway, with no better way to help these poor Pokemon, let's go. Purification montage. And then, there was one. It took 5 days. We had just finished purifying all of the Pokemon, and were preparing a celebration dinner. But before we could announce the good news, I received a message from someone named Dash, accusing me of having my Pokemon attack him. We all know where this is going. That means there's still one Shadow Pokemon remaining. It's definitely not one of the ones I originally snagged, all those are accounted for. We need more info, so we drive to Fennec, where the trainer once again accuses me of attacking him. He refuses to listen to me at all. What is going on here? Right on cue, we get another message from Net, announcing that he had completed analysis of the data ROM and found just one remaining Pokemon. The last Shadow Pokemon is Togetic. While we're trying to figure out what to do, we get another message, this time from Bit. He asks why I'm attacking people with Togetic, and sends a picture. Just as he said, it was a picture of me attacking Dash with a Togetic. Chat and I both know that we've never snagged a Togetic, so it can't actually be me. So, whoever this is doesn't want to just attack people, they very specifically want everyone to think it's me doing so. Before we can discuss things further, we get another message from Net. Short and simple. Watch TV. He must want us to check the news. There, we see a report of a Pokemon attacking someone. It's hard to make out, but it shows a Togetic. Clearly, we need to track down whoever this is. But where do we even start? While we're pondering where we should look first, Net messages me again to check the news. There we see another attack, and they say it's live at Outskirt Stand. Rushing at top speed across the desert, we arrive at Outskirt Stand. Back to where it all began. How poetic that the final step on my path to redemption would lie here. There we find him. It's me. Like looking in a mirror, we see that the one behind all these incidents is myself. Or rather, an imposter who resembles me. How fitting. Because of me, these Pokemon were taken and had their hearts closed. All this time I fought to undo that, and at the end of that long path lies myself. I must overcome the person I once was in order to truly shine a light on a brighter future. Floating beside him is a Togetic. Chat's voice confirms it. That's the final Shadow Pokemon. He calls it back into its ball and turns to face me. Alright, symbolism aside, this is the final fight for a Shadow Pokemon, and fittingly, it is against myself. Not myself as a trainer, but rather, it's a test of my own willpower. Let me break the fourth wall here for a bit. We're going to snag back that last Shadow Pokemon, but not just that. No, we're going to shiny hunt it. Now, I'm no stranger to shiny hunts. I've done hundreds of them. I consider myself fairly patient, but this is another beast. A true test of my patience. I've hatched eggs, used the Poke Radar, chain fished, SOS chained, Dex naved, horde encountered, catch comboed, used Ultra Warp Ride, scoured mass outbreaks, Dynamax adventures, and of course, soft reset. So many methods in search of those elusive sparkles. On the surface, this looks like a simple soft reset hunt, but believe me, this is so much worse. Let's lay everything out there. So, Togetic looks to be locked behind some absolute nonsense. First of all, it required us to catch every other shadow in the game. That's the easy part. It's done so we can check that off the list. Next, it takes place at Outskirt Stand, one of the few locations without a save point in it. Yeah, I haven't mentioned it till now because it hasn't been relevant, but you can't save everywhere. You can only do so at a PC. That means for every attempt, we have to walk back from a save point. That means at least one loading screen when we change locations. That doesn't seem like much, but across so many resets, that short cutscene will add up. Next, it's in a battle with 5 other Pokemon, but it's sent out as either the first or last Pokemon of the match. So if we spam spread moves like Surf, and I'm not paying attention, it may be sent out on a spread move and get knocked out. That ends the attempt. Those 5 other Pokemon do slow down the match though, so spread moves make it way faster and are definitely the way to go. Additionally, bringing multiple Pokemon means more animations, and also if they're below level 100, they will gain experience, which adds another message to mash through, which takes time. At level 100 though, they'll definitely KO Togetic. Oh, also did I mention that while the enemy team is around level 60, Togetic is only level 20. So even a lower level Pokemon has a strong chance of outright KOing it, but it'll also in turn get easily taken down by the other enemy Pokemon if it's too low level. Finally is the way that shiny shadow Pokemon work in Colosseum. It's a little complicated, but to simplify it, the game won't roll for a Pokemon's shininess until you catch it. That means it won't look shiny when the enemy sends it out, but once we catch it, it can become shiny and will appear as such when we send it out into battle or in the menu. Oh, and the best part? This is full odds. 1 in 8,192. No shiny charm, no way to improve the chances. Just you against the RNG. A true test of luck and patience. This is what I live for. Rally luck, baby. We might not be able to improve the shiny odds. That 1 in 8,192 is an immutable fact of the universe. It's not gonna budge. But we can reduce the time this hunt takes slightly by playing smart. So, what can we do to make this very painful process at least a little more streamlined? Let's start with the location. Outskirt Stand, as mentioned, doesn't have a save point. Or does it? See, this is essentially your starting location, much like your home in the mainline games. If you faint without ever having saved at another PC, this is the default location you get sent to. Well, obviously beating the entire game without saving, that's not very realistic. Also, I've saved other places already, so that's out anyway. But there's another instance that sends you back to your home location. In the mainline series, if you beat the game, when you resume, you start at home. The same is true here. If you beat the final boss, you resume your journey right here. You still need to walk over to start the fight, but it's a bit faster. That doesn't seem like much, but again, across hundreds and thousands of attempts, that tiny bit of time save adds up. Next, streamlining animations and messages. No, you can't turn animations off, but by having our Pokemon at level 100, they won't gain experience. That means no messages for that or level ups, which means less dialogue to mash through, which means we get to Togetic faster. But what about the battles themselves? We still need to quickly beat the other Mons while not harming our Shadow fledgling. We need to pay attention and not accidentally mash our attacks while Togetic is on the field. This is a long hunt. It'll be hard to pay attention all the time. Accidents happen. How do we prevent them? Spread moves are off the table, right? Well, not quite. Surf or Rock Slide would take Togetic out, for sure being such a squishy little guy, but Togetic just so happens to be flying. Can you feel that? That's right, that's the unmistakable rumble of an earthquake. By spamming Earthquake, we can safely mash A for our attacks without fear of accidentally hitting Togetic. As a bonus, our Doppelganger's team is mostly vulnerable to it, with the exception of Togetic and Gyarados. So there's our answer, right? We need a Mon with Earthquake and enough power to one-shot the rest of his team, and keeping Togetic safe doesn't matter now, right? Well, Gyarados being on field does mean we need something that doesn't faint against it. We could just beat it, but that does mean watching it faint, the end of battle animations and dialogue, then opening the menu. It might be a bit faster than watching Gyarados attack each turn, technically speaking, but I'd personally rather just open the menu and check there. The Gyarados knows Earthquake, so something immune to that would be ideal, and it also has Hydro Pump. Resisting that would be nice. That's right, it's time for Chekhov's gun. Chekhov's dragon. Those dragons I traded in, their names are Sorak and Beakamos, and I trained them specifically for this. Capable of sweeping the Fake's team while flying high out of danger and leaving the target unharmed. They're aerial ace fighters who are able to easily sweep the main story final boss team so that we can start each encounter here in Outskirt Stand. Everything's leading up to this. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. So, let's see it all in action. We start our first match. Sweep through his team with ease, and Togetic comes out. I still have the Master Ball. Catching Togetic is as easy as that. Check it, see if it's shiny, reset, repeat. Right? Well, there's always another catch. One of my fatal flaws is that I'm a little shallow. I'm doing all this to get a shiny Pokemon. I want it to look as special as it can be. How about a Pokeball to match it? Say, I don't know, a Premier Ball? That's special, right? It sure is, but that is gonna add time to the hunt. I know, all that optimization and time save, and I'm throwing it away using a ball that isn't 100% guaranteed. Yup. That's foolish. Yup. That's a waste. Yup. Look, if I'm gonna do this, if I'm gonna jump through all these hoops, I might as well go the distance. I'm doing it my way. No regrets. The Master Ball is still here as a backup if the Togetic is about to faint due to Shadow Rush recoil, but I'd really rather have it in the Premier Ball. So, RNG is gonna get plenty more laughs in as I struggle against not just the shiny odds, but the capture odds too. The extra condition of wanting to catch it in the Premier Ball unfortunately adds a lot of extra headache. It's actually why we're going with Dragonite and Salamence. While the two are pretty similar and both fulfill the requirements for getting Togetic on its own no problem, only Dragonite has access to Thunder Wave, so we can status Togetic and improve our odds of catching it in the Premier Ball. It also has Dragon Rage for a flat 40 damage, which even at Togetic's low level, will never be enough to KO it in one hit. Hail can also be used to chip its HP at the cost of dragging the battle out by a lot, due to adding multiple extra animations each turn. Since we're relying on Dragon Rage, it's a good thing Togetic isn't a fairy type yet, huh? Whew, boy. That sure is a lot of conditions to juggle. That's okay though. There's no perfect strategy due to my stubbornness of ball choice, but I optimized things as best as I could. At least that's what I thought. As the hunt continued, I'd think up some new optimizations, which I'll discuss later, but for now, we can get into the action. First things first, we actually have to get to Outskirt Stand, which means another round against the not-so-elite four, Nascour and, surprise surprise, Evis, who once again broke out of prison for a rematch. Don't worry, none of this prep work section is canon. Earthquake makes short work of most things, but we do need a move to deal with the flying Pokemon here. Thunderbolt works fine, though Ice Beam would be the choice if anyone here had a Flygon or Claydol. Anyway, Evis is on his way back to Coupon Town, and with that, we return to Outskirt Stand. Finally, at long last with all the prep done, the hunt can actually begin. Strap in for a long ride.
There we go, finally got it. That's our first check. Normally, shiny Togetic doesn't look very different from regular Togetic. It's just that the red and blue flip, and it's like a slightly different shade of white, very slight. But in this game, it actually turns like goldish color, so it's very obvious when it's a shiny Shadow Togetic. Yo, we got the Togetic up first this time. Me at Togetic, why are you white?
We're either really low or really high. No one guessed like in the 3,000 or 4,000 range, which is more realistic about where I would expect to find it, honestly. Oh wow, we got it without paralyzing it. Let's go. No, number 69 was not it, unfortunately. Eventually, we crept over 100 encounters with no luck. That's okay, I was expecting this. Just gotta lock in. I'm so glad that I did research before this and I learned that you can start from Outskirt Stand by beating Realgam Tower. Because my original plan was to like go to Phoenix City, save there, and then walk over every single time. And that was gonna be miserable. That would add so much extra time to the hunt. And like, it's already a long hunt, but like, not starting from Outskirt Stand would have been miserable. The Togetics are just being really bratty today. I'm not a fan of it. They're making me actually upset. Uh-oh. Oh, did the game freeze? Oh, what? Oh, come on, Togetic. Don't do that. Behave. Behave. If you don't behave, we paralyze you. Dragonite comes out with a bat and breaks your kneecaps. If I just wanted to have it, like, I could have ordered an action replay and hacked it. There's no point in that. It's about the journey. It's the journey. I used to put a lot of sugar in my tea. I've gotten a little better about it. Oh wait, did that Togetic just... No, Togetic killed itself! Oh, that's our first time having it KO itself. It's okay, that one wasn't shiny. I genuinely liked Z moves. I know, unpopular opinion, I liked Z moves. Uh-oh. Did the game freeze? No! 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 Come on! Yo! Clockpit! I watched your shiny Togetic video. Yes, I used your video as a reference when I was setting this up, actually. We're going slow. My setup is a lot slower than yours because I want to catch it in a Premier Ball instead of the Master Ball. I want the Premier Ball, and that makes it way, way slower. The Master Ball would definitely speed things up. Later, Clock and I talked a bit and brainstormed some ways to optimize things further. I had already considered what we talked about, but wasn't convinced it would save as much time as running two Earthquake users. However, that chat convinced me to give another Pokemon a shot. Chohime, the Princess of Butterflies. With Compound Eyes boosting it from 75% to 97.5%, we can use Sleep Powder for a more consistent sleep status, improving our catch odds over Thunderwave by around 5 to 10%, and by putting it to sleep, it can't attack, making it less likely to KO itself with Shadow Rush. Further, unlike Spore users, Butterfree flies, allowing us to avoid our own Earthquakes. Of course, speaking of Earthquake, losing one of our Earthquakers would slow things down a bit, but the better catch odds alone should more than make up for the slight time loss here. The larger issue is if Gyarados comes out and intimidates us, we suddenly miss the OHKO on Milotic and Armaldo, an issue we already saw in some of the earlier attempts. Those two can do some serious damage with Ice Beam or Rock Blast and potentially KO our dragons. Fortunately, I found a solution to that. So, in case you missed that, allow me to illuminate. By using Swagger on my own Dragonite, I can raise his attack by 2 stages. Then, his Persim Berry will cure the confusion. With this, even if Gyarados reduces our attack by 1 stage, we still have the damage to one-shot Milotic. This is the most insane workaround to Butterfree not having Helping Hand that I could possibly imagine. But Helping Hand at home does technically work. Another option was to run Safeguard and Swagger instead, but that takes a turn to set up. If Gyarados and one of those problem Pokemon lead, we risk getting sniped while setting up. We do still have Safeguard, mostly just to have an option to not have to deal with Togetic's status moves. In the last slot, I settled on Attract to immobilize Gyarados, potentially skipping its attacks. For the more common male Togetics, it can also stop it from hitting itself. Finally, I gave her a Lumberry, just in case Togetic wakes up and statuses us before we set up Safeguard. And if you're wondering why not just use a White Herb to deal with Gyarados' Intimidate, well, we can't, for multiple reasons. First of all, Beakamos with an unboosted Earthquake won't KO without Soft Sand, so giving it the White Herb instead won't work. But also, there are multiple trainers we have to fight in Realgam Tower with Pokemon that have Intimidate. Fighting those trainers automatically uses the White Herb, so we wouldn't have it for this fight. If we wanted it, we'd have to re-equip it before every fight once we reach Outskirt Stand, and that's more trouble than it's worth. Anyway, this continues for a while. Shohime makes things much more consistent, though we do have the occasional Togetic that Shadow Rushes itself down enough to necessitate the use of the Master Ball, much to chat's enjoyment and my own annoyance. That's when someone by the name of Cabbage61 suggests using a Pain Splitter. Now, I had actually briefly considered Pain Split earlier, but I was thinking about using it to safely lower HP before I thought of Dragon Rage. Using it to raise HP instead works much better. I also floated some other ideas, such as using Trick to give Togetic an Oran Berry to heal only a small amount in a pinch, or Leftovers to keep passive healing, but dismissed those. Pain Split was the best way forward. So with that in mind, I sent in some more support. I made 2 Pain Splitters, just in case one gets taken out, since I expected them to be a bit squishy. However, that ended up not being a problem. Still, they each have strengths and weaknesses, so having 2 for different scenarios is pretty good. Misdreavus is immune to Gyarados' strength, and Levitate also makes it immune to Earthquake, so we were able to fully invest in speed and special defense to shrug off Hydro Pump and outspeed. The only reason it wasn't ran over Butterfree was lack of sleeping option. As for Smeargle, while more frail than Misdreavus due to lacking those key immunities, she does have access to sleep. Lack of immunity to Earthquake made it impossible to run this as a lead alongside Beakamos though. Further, Splatier has Dragon Rage, which can drop the HP again after we reset it with Pain Split. Own Tempo also means she can't be confused to stop us from reapplying sleep like Shohime can, something that happened a few times and I think actually led to a few faints. Both of them also have Flash. If Togetic can't hit us with Shadow Rush, it can't take any recoil from it. For that reason, I also gave them both Bright Powders too. Which one of the 2 is better to use depends on the situation. If Gyarados is asleep, getting Splatier in might be better to immediately drop the HP again, but otherwise their Peren might be safer. Ultimately, they both function similarly though. Having 2 Dragon Ragers, 2 Sleepers, and 2 Pain Splitters just improves our options. Beakamos and Shohime will still lead though, with those 2 only coming in if Togetic is in danger of fainting. Finally, one last thing. Theraparen has Thunderbolt to one-shot Gyarados the instant we find the shiny to end the battle ASAP, since the 2 game crashes were what made me the most scared. I didn't want the game to crash on me after we got Togetic, but before we saved. With the final team in place, we continued the hunt. Check number 1000. Let's go. Let's see. Yeah, I can't believe this. This is 1,000 times we've done this. Remind me again what the definition of insanity is? Nothing. Check number 1000 was a dud, unfortunately. Huge. Now we're gonna get this guy. Oh my god, no! I almost mentioned it. This is the luckiest Milotic I've ever seen. It has a 70% chance on freeze. I swear, this thing always freezes. Of course, it froze here. Atrocious. How dare you? A full restore, but still, I'm insulted that you had the nerve to do that. On the very last encounter of the night, too. How dare you? I hate this Milotic. I have never seen a Milotic with so much luck before. One time it did get a back-to-back freeze. It froze, I full restore... Are you kidding? Are you kidding? I was just about to say, I saw it once get 2 back-to-back freezes, and of course, it uses the opportunity to go for a second freeze. I full restored it, and then it immediately froze me again, and of course, that's exactly what it decided to do here as well. Because why not? Why wouldn't it do that? Dang, again? Really? Oh, we'll take it. Won't complain about easy catches. Much preferable to last night, where we were like a full hour behind where I wanted to be. We were struggling last night, so... You know. Luck is like a pendulum. It swings back the other way eventually. Luck has a way of balancing itself out, so... Yesterday's bad luck is today's good luck. Like the conservation of energy. Luck can neither be created nor destroyed, only transferred. It's a poison type ninja themed evolution. Oh no, Togetic fainted! Oh, I got so busy yapping, we fainted the Togetic. That hasn't happened in ages. Oh no. I'm sorry, Togi. This is truly the saddest day. No. Not the knife killing Togetic, no. Well, miss your rock blast. Miss. Oh no. Oh my god, Chohime the legend. Oh, she survived on 1 HP. Chohime toughed it out so I wouldn't feel sad. Let's go. Definitely the worst one from today. By far. This is double the next worst one of the day. Thank you for the rally luck, too. Rally luck, rally luck. Oh my god, it worked. Thank you. Thank you for the rally luck. You saved us from purgatory. And... nothing. 2K party time. We're celebrating 2,000 checks. This is check number 2K. Well, that was anticlimactic. I don't know, just an odd choice. Just because I like him. Ah! The Togetic! The shiny! Oh my god, we got it! We got it! Oh my god. Ooh, I've gotta go. I've gotta go. We need to hurry and save the game. Oh my god. That was it, right? I'm not hallucinating? Let me double check. That's it. At the end of this grueling duel that lasted about 240 hours, we finally had it. 2,089 resets to get this little guy. Or, if you add in the times the game crashed or I failed the catch, it was a total of 2,099 attempts. And yes, that means that chat reminded me it was a shadow Pokemon that many times too. Thanks, chat. Couldn't have done it without you. By the way, for some context, each reset took on average 10 to 20 minutes, although there were some outliers that got the catch super early at about 8 minutes or super late at 25 to 30 minutes. We started this on June 24th, and this went on till October 13th. Now, I didn't stream this daily, but it was almost weekly, usually with 2 streams a week, lasting 6 to 8 hours each, until October, where for Clockpit's Shadow Month event, we accelerated things to a daily grind. And hey, that worked, because during that event, we got the shiny. We even got this cute art in celebration from Emumu in the Discord server for getting it during the event. Look at the little guy, he's so adorable. Anyway, that's just some fun side info. But with all that out of the way, I think we have a little story to get back to, no? Let's wrap this up. I face down the imposter, sending out Beakamos and Chohime. I start by commanding Chohime to use Swagger on Beakamos. The doppelganger is shocked to see me target my own Pokemon, but a Parasem Berry I gave Beakamos cures the confusion, leaving him stronger without the drawback. With this boost, he uses Earthquake to tear through his first 2 Pokemon, Armaldo and Milotic, before they can react. He sends out Houndoom and Manectric, who are dispatched in similar fashion before either can do anything. Meanwhile, for safety, Chohime sets up a safeguard to protect us from any nasty surprises. Finally, with his back against the wall, in desperation, he sends out his last 2 Pokemon, the Shadow Togetic and Gyarados. Sparkles shine in the air as the small shadow is released from its ball. I can't let it get away here, not when we're so close. I can't miss this snag. He commands it to ignore the Pokemon and attack me directly. Chohime intercepts it with a cloud of sleep powder, and Beakamos knocks it back with a burst of energy from Dragon Rage. I know it's not enough to fully wipe out the little guy, but it will leave it mostly drained. The tiny tick falls to the ground, and I take the chance. The snag machine whirs as energy fills a Premier Ball, preparing it to overwrite this faker's trainer data with my own. With all my determination, I toss it at my target. The Togetic is drawn into it, and the ball rocks back and forth. 1, 2, 3, click. It's done. But there's no time for celebration yet. The Gyarados slams into Chohime. I withdraw Beakamos and send out Therapiren. With a single Thunderbolt, she dispatches the Leviathan, who falls to the ground with a mighty thud, sand spreading over the outskirt stand. The dust billowing around the decrepit gas station settles at last, the fake defeated and the final shadow snagged. The shimmering fledgling is now safely under my care. Chief Shurl soon arrives to apprehend my doppelganger. Hopefully that's the last we'll see of Cipher. But it's not over yet. Chat, my stalwart companion through this entire adventure, reminds me. That's right. We have to purify this little guy. We return one last time to the Relic Stone in Agate Village. The door to little Togetic's heart hasn't budged yet over our long drive through the desert. It's locked so tightly, but I know how to open it. We have the Master Key, the Time Flute. It will call Celebi, whose power can completely rewind time for Togetic, to before Cipher got its hands on it, heal the trauma it endured. At least, that's my hope. We enter the sunlit grove for hopefully the final time. Dappled light dances amidst the branches as I release Togetic. He isn't actively hostile right now, at least. With a vacant stare, it stands there as I pull out the flute and begin to play. The deed is done, my redemption complete. With this, the tiny little Togetic, whose heart was cruelly closed off, is free to love once more, and in that fledgling, I see myself reflected. Perhaps it's time for me to unfurl my wings too. Together, we can take to the sky. I decide to name it Tenshibi. Like a chibi angel, it will fly with me into a better future. The Relic Stone's caretaker commemorates us purifying Tenshibi by giving us one last ribbon, just as he had for all the other Shadow Pokemon. The little guy seems pleased with his new toy, but I can feel it. We're so close to finishing things, it would be a shame to leave anything unresolved. My gaze turns towards the towering mountain that cleaves the skyline. The rainbow is guiding me. The next morning, we depart one last time to Mount Battle. While Sorak, Bikamos, Chohime, Splatier, and Theraparen could all help me climb this mountain, they deserve a rest after the previous battle. And Tenshibi is too weak, both from the exhaustion of the just recently resolved hold that Cipher had over its heart, and also just physically. Tenshibi isn't yet ready for this kind of grueling gauntlet. I decide for this final test, we're finishing this with the team who carried us this far. While we've already cleared up to Area 90 while training, I decide to take the 100 Battle Challenge, a more difficult version of the challenge where each trainer selects just 4 of their 6 Pokemon for each match. Further, for this challenge, we have to do all 100 battles in a row. We'll have to start from the bottom once more, proof that no matter how far back you slide, you can get back to where you were and surpass it. We arrive at the base of the mountain. Tenshibi is floating next to Chat. I tell them they don't have to come with me for this one. It's going to be a long climb. Chat says they'll be waiting at the top to cheer me on. I thank them and step in alone. Well, not really alone. Chat may not be here, but my Pokemon are. They've been with me all this way. I'm going to demonstrate the proof of the bonds I built with my team on this journey in search of redemption. To show I wasn't going through the motions, and truly built connections and changed. We easily breezed through the trainers in the early areas. The challenges in the later zones are drawn out and slow, but nothing insurmountable for a team like us. We found a way to stoke the fires within each other. Finally, on Battle 94, we suffer our first loss. It stings, but we get back up. In this challenge, for each win you have without losing any Pokemon, you get an extra continue. So, with plenty of continues left over, we get up, and we give it all we've got. Another loss comes at Battle 97. It takes 1, 2, 3 tries, but we won't stay down. Eventually, we push through the roadblock. We'll keep struggling on, no matter how hard it gets. Just a few floors to go until our united effort brings us to the final battle, Floor 100. Situated on a platform suspended over the mouth of the volcano, magma flowing all around us, I step into the arena. The very air here is heavy with a heat that will perfectly match the intensity of this battle. I see Chat and Tenshibi off to the side, watching with the area leaders. They let out a cheer, and I give them a thumbs up before stepping forward to meet my final opponent. The Mount Battle Master. Who could it be but Chat's grandfather, Egan? He was a legendary trainer after all. Since he's formally retired, he insisted I address him by his pseudonym, Inity. But he congratulates me on my progress, the dedication and perseverance it took to reach this lofty summit. But now it's time to put it all out there. The conviction of my team and I will do the talking. Each of my Pokemon have done a great job, not just on today's climb, but through our entire journey. However, only 4 of them can join me for the final battle. I make my selection, and we prepare to face off. Entity sends out Crobat and Rhydon. I lead with Lunoct and Mondali. Crobat immediately uses Confuse Ray on Lunoct. To cover for him, Mondali puts the Crobat to sleep. Lunoct trips trying to use Sunny Day, and the Rhydon uses Rock Blast on Mondali. It hits twice. A third would have taken him out. Without the sun support for instant solar beams, I instead have Mondali use Giga Drain on Rhydon, taking it out in one hit while restoring most of his health. Our opponent sends out Ludicolo, whose Fake Out makes Mondali flinch. Crobat wakes up and fires a Sludge Bomb, finishing Mondali off. I recall him and send out Stratuffy. Lunoct shakes off the confusion and finally sets up the sunlight. As the intense light glares down, somehow the already sweltering volcano crater's heat gets cranked up to 11. The Crobat launches another Sludge Bomb, this time at Lunoct, who tanks the hit but gets poisoned in the process. Stratuffy uses Ice Beam in response, while Lunoct spreads poison to Ludicolo, who in turn uses Ice Beam on Stratuffy, who just barely endures the quad effective hit. Crobat uses another Sludge Bomb to finish Stratuffy, bringing in Soraya. Lunoct's Feint Attack isn't enough to finish Crobat, and Soraya takes another Ice Beam from Ludicolo. It's down to just the 2 Pokemon I set off on this journey with. Lunoct the Umbreon, Soraya the Espeon. How far we've come. Soraya protects, hoping to draw in fire. It works as Crobat targets him with a Shadow Ball that gets blocked, leaving Lunoct free to use Feint Attack and finish it. Entity sends in his final Pokemon, a Machamp. Ludicolo's Ice Beam is also nullified by Soraya's Protect. Now it's time to go on the offensive. Soraya's Psychic easily fells the Machamp in a single hit, while Lunoct slams into the Ludicolo with another Feint Attack. Now 2 vs 1, the Ludicolo can only fire an Ice Beam that does minor damage to Soraya, while the Toxic drains its strength. This leaves it weak enough for Soraya to finish the battle with one final Psychic. With that, Entity smiles. He once more commends my progress. The coordination between not only you and your Pokemon, but also among the Pokemon themselves, is admirably perfect. I think to myself that this victory is proof that the summit will always be within reach, so long as you strive to conquer it. And overhead I hear it. The rainbow. Ho-Oh once more graces us flying overhead. A single shimmering feather drifts down to my palm. On the day I first learned of what was happening to the Pokemon I snagged, I had seen Ho-Oh, and that was the sign that I needed to fix things, that I couldn't follow that dark path, allow the Shadow Pokemon plot to continue. The rainbow, a sign of the promise I made to myself, sparkles in the sky. It's a bridge guiding us to the future. I take this feather as proof that Ho-Oh acknowledged everything I've done on my journey at long last. Now, finally able to feel like I've proven myself to the rainbow, there's one last thing to do. We drive far out into the long, cruel desert. Yet, somehow, it doesn't feel quite as lonely as it once did. The engine rumbles and sand swirls as the sun begins to set. Finally, I slow to a stop. Chat looks at me. I tell them to wait here. I begin to walk into the sand. I look to my side. Unbidden, Tenshibi followed me. I stumble through the sands a while longer, the tiny Togetic floating beside me. I take off my coat and glasses, laying them on a nearby rock. Symbols of the old me. I don't need them anymore. I remove the snag machine from my arm. I break it and bury it in the sand. I don't want it being used to harm any more Pokemon. The sands will claim it until it's hopefully forgotten to time. The long journey is at its end. Together we step into the sunset, and tomorrow, a new day. So that concludes our story. Or perhaps it's more accurate to say it's only just begun. Tenshibi and I have a long road ahead of us across that rainbow bridge, so we'll be going. But first, some miscellaneous housekeeping stuff. This originally started out as just a shiny hunt, before being reworked to include a full story. I hope you enjoyed it. This was my first time doing a project this big, and even though it was overwhelming, I had fun giving my own twist to Pokémon Colosseum that really feels like it made it into something personal. I'd love to do more long-form content like this in the future, although definitely not quite this long. Next, I want to give thanks to Oliver MKP and Clockpit, whose videos helped a lot with streamlining the Shadow Togetic shiny hunt. They're awesome resources if you want to get into shiny hunting in Colosseum. Their videos will be in the description. Also, additional thanks to Clockpit for helping me brainstorm ways to optimize the hunt even further. And also to my Twitch chat, who sat with me during the playthrough and hunt. Having people to chat with helped keep me sane. Truly the bestest travel companions ever. If you're interested in joining on future adventures that may become videos, Pokemon or otherwise, you can check the live streams too. Additionally, if you want to watch these uncut, they're available on the VOD channel. The first few have a lot of scuff as I was figuring out my stream setup, but eventually things get sorted. And finally, I don't usually ask this, but since I worked super hard on this project, I'd really appreciate it if you did all the fun stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this journey with your friends. Let me know what you liked or what I could improve next time. There's a lot more adventures to come. Anyway, thank you for watching, and until next time, this is Hoodie Angel Brandon and Tenshibi flying off.